Starting off this countdown, we have Zone Rogue. Zone Rogue, sometimes called the Red Zone or Zone Rouge, is an area in northeastern France that got destroyed during World War I. After the war, the land was declared 100% damaged with devastating effects on the agriculture. It was said to be impossible to clean, and human life there was said to be impossible. So the French government prohibited anyone from going there. In fact, this area is littered with human and animal remains and millions of unexploded weapons. So it's literally dangerous to go there. All you need to do is be traveling there and you set off an explosive. That would not end well. In our 9th spot, we have Room 39. Room 39 is a top secret room located in North Korea. The whole location is heavily guarded. They don't want anyone getting into this room. In fact, it's said to be one of the most secret places in North Korea, a place that's already so secretive. It was created in the late 1970s. Room 39 is the meeting place for a top secret North Korean party organization. They apparently get up to a number of illegal activities in that room, like counterfeiting, selling and producing drugs, and selling weapons. Apparently, they bring in $500 million to $1 billion per year through these illegal activities. So yeah, no wonder they don't want outsiders inside of this room. Should anyone try to get in? Well, I'm sure you can imagine what would happen. In our 8th spot today, we have Vale do Javari. Located in Brazil in the Amazon, this area is one of the largest indigenous territories in the world. It's home to a number of indigenous tribes. There are said to be 2,000 individuals belonging to at least 14 tribes living there. In fact, they remained uncontacted with until several years ago. But the Brazilian government has banned anyone from going there. It's illegal if you do so. This is because they want to protect the people living there. Any contact with the outside world could be dangerous to these individuals. We could transmit diseases and wipe them out. So in an effort to protect the tribes, it's illegal to visit the area. In our 7th spot, we have the Korean Demilitarized Zone. This is the area that marks the separation between South and North Korea. The only people that reside there are high-ranking officials. It's illegal for anyone else to visit the site. In fact, it's one of the most militarized zones in the world, so why would anyone even want to go there? In fact, they have enough weapons to bombard Seoul with over 10,000 rounds every minute. Now, the North Korean side primarily serves to stop an invasion of North Korea from the south. Up until 1972, over 7,000 Korean soldiers infiltrated North Korea. More than half of them lost their lives. In our 6th spot today, we have Metro 2. Located in Moscow, Russia, there is a secret underground metro system operated by the Russian Ministry of Defense. It's said that this system connects the Moscow Kremlin with the Federal Security Service headquarters. The only problem is, no one knows where it is. That's how secret it is. People know it exists, but they haven't been able to find where it is or how to get in. Either way, you're banned from doing so anyways. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Varosha, Cyprus. Once upon a time in the early 70s, Varosha was a popular tourist attraction. In fact, it was one of the most popular ones in the world. That was until 1974 when Turkey invaded. As a result, all the residents had to flee or else they were killed. They were forcibly removed from their homes and were never allowed to come back. The Turkish military then took control of the whole area, and no one is allowed to enter. In fact, the whole area is now fenced off and under constant supervision. Not only that, but the army patrols have orders to shoot on sight. So people don't even want to take a chance by going even remotely close to there. In our 4th spot, we have Pine Gap. Located deep in the Australian outback is Pine Gap, a top secret military base. In fact, this base has been named Australia's Area 51. That's how mysterious it is there. This base is operated by the Australian government and by the CIA and the NSA. In 2013, it was revealed that the NSA uses this facility to collect internet and telephone records, when originally it was said that this place was just a space research center. Clearly, that was just one big lie. So this place is just a big place for intelligence activities and military operations. What's scary is that it's rumored that this base is home to one of the most terrifying surveillance systems out there, the Echelon. This is the code name given to a very secretive and intense surveillance program. So yeah, anyone caught trespassing, you're in huge trouble. In our third spot, we have Morgan Island. This is another island completely off limits, and that's because it's filled with monkeys. Now you might be thinking, oh, I love monkeys, they're so cute. No, okay? These monkeys are said to be infected by the herpes B virus, but it wasn't always like this. What happened was that the monkeys were originally from Puerto Rico, but then there was a viral outbreak among locals because the monkeys became overpopulated. So they tried to fix this problem by moving the monkeys to Morgan Island. In 1979, over 1,400 animals were relocated to Morgan Island. As a result, the island is off limits for your safety and the safety of the monkeys. Coming in at number 2, we have Mount Weather, aka one of America's best kept secrets. No, I didn't just make that up, that's actually what it's called. This is a secret facility located in Virginia. In fact, for years people were wondering if Mount Weather was actually real. It was just kind of rumored to be a thing. But alas, it is real. Mount Weather is an emergency operations center. They have an underground bunker there, so in case of emergency, they can keep all the government officials there in that bunker. They even have their own police department, fire department, and laws for this place. So we all know if there's an apocalypse, that's where the government will be hiding out. And of course, it's surrounded by armed guards, fences, and razor wires. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Russia's nuclear missile facility. In the Ural Mountains in Russia, there's a top secret town that no one is allowed to visit. This is because this is the place that Russia does their nuclear missile testing. As a result, no one is allowed to go in or even near the vicinity. Again, why would you even want to go anyways? That place is probably incredibly radioactive. It's also believed that around the area, the Russians have a secret bunker complex for the government and or the Russian armed forces.
At number 10, Bohemian Grove. The only way you're getting to this super exclusive club is if you're a very powerful man. Bohemian Grove is a private club for the most powerful men in the US, located on a restricted 2,700-acre campground on Bohemian Ave in Monte Rio, California. Every July, its members travel to the grounds for a 2-week retreat to relax and specifically not network. There is little known about what happens during the retreat. One thing powerful men are good at is keeping things hidden. The club's all-male membership includes many artists, musicians, prominent business leaders, government officials, former presidents, and senior media executives. Members are also allowed to bring guests and even rent out the grounds for its off-season private events. If your interest has been sparked, good luck getting anywhere near Bohemian Grove. It's protected by security year-round, with the club employing ex-military personnel to secure the area. They also utilize high-end equipment like thermal cameras and vibration sensing alarm systems. Some presidents that have visited are George Bush, Richard Nixon, and Ronald Reagan. Basically, there's no chance of getting in unless you have some pretty important friends. Number 9, the Coca-Cola Vault. Coca-Cola is one of the biggest brands in the world. The corporation was founded in 1892, so the recipe has been around for over 120 years. It definitely has undergone some tweaks since the 1800s, but now it doesn't contain illegal substances, so it really only changed for the better. The secret formula is located inside World of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, Georgia. While you can absolutely visit the museum itself, showcasing the history of the company, the actual vault that holds the formula is off limits. The actual recipe is located inside of a metal box inside of a 6.6-foot high vault, which is then further protected by a barrier, and the entire area has surveillance with armed guards. The door to the vault can only be opened by a keypad with a hand scanner. It sounds a bit extreme to take all these measures over the recipe for Coke, but with the company bringing in over $42 billion in 2022, the extra security makes total sense. I never thought about seeing the formula of Coke, but now that I know it's in a highly guarded fancy safe, I've never wanted to see something more. Number 8, Granite Mountain Records Vault. The world's largest collection of genealogical records lives in a secure vault located quite literally in the mountains near Salt Lake City, Utah. The Granite Mountain Records Vault was built in 1965 by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The purpose of the vault is to preserve and protect records of importance to the church, like its vast collection of family history microfilms. This is an extremely secure facility with no public access allowed. What we do know is that it's home to 2.4 million rolls of microfilm containing approximately 3.5 billion images of family history records. records. I guess when the Mormon Church says they're a family-centered faith, they aren't kidding. The church is collecting all of these microfilmed images in order to digitize them and turn them into digital records available through FamilySearch.org. Some people think there is more going on in that facility than we're being told, with conspiracy theories and suspicions surrounding the whole operation. The vault is located under 700 feet of solid mountain stone with 3 tunnels and 4 cross tunnels inside, spanning over 65,000 square feet. They also have reinforced entrance doors that weigh 14 tons each and were said to be able to withstand a nuclear blast. These factors are what really led people to being skeptical of their operations because A, that's a lot of room for converting microfilms, B, that's a lot of security for the names of the deceased, and C, more recent images of the vault seem to show they've expanded the facility to now have 5 entrances instead of 3. Some thoughts surrounding what else is stored there are significant artifacts, ancient relics, or even a bunker. Maybe the expansion is just for expanding operations, but who knows, maybe they really are hiding something else in that vault. At number 7, Area 51. The widely known name refers to that of a highly classified United States Air Force facility located in Nevada, which is highly prohibited to those without authorization. The fact that it's a government facility that is super off limits and highly guarded has led people to famously associate Area 51 with aliens. For decades now, the facility has been the eye of a conspiracy theory storm, with people convinced that aliens and their technology exist behind its walls. Being told you can't go somewhere or that something is a secret only makes you more interested to know about it. There have been many books, TV shows, and even plans online for massive raids trying to get a glimpse of what lies beyond the very prominent warning signs, to no success. Upon looking at Area 51, it appears like the only protection against unwanted guests is the many warning signs, but apparently not a single thing goes unnoticed. Beyond the gates, cameras see every angle, watching everything below. Locals say the base knows every desert tortoise and jackrabbit that hops the fence. No matter how interested you may be, only a select few have access to what goes on there, causing so many theories and speculations. Who knows, maybe it's alien experiments, maybe it's the most mundane, boring work we could ever imagine. Either way, we aren't going to be finding out anytime soon. Number 6, Cheyenne Mountain Complex. It's located at Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station, or CMAF, within the Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The CMAF falls under Air Force Base Command and hosts the activities of several tenant units. At the height of the Cold War, the idea of a hardened command center was thought of as a defense against long-range Soviet bombers. The Army Corps of Engineers supervised the excavation of Cheyenne Mountain and the construction of an operational center. The facility became fully operational as the NORAD Combat Operations Center in early 1967. Since it's a big old place for government stuff, Cheyenne Mountain Complex is protected and closed to the public. It's located under 2,000 feet of granite with 6 tunnels, each 3 stories tall. It's also secured against seismic activity and nuclear explosions. So basically, it's pretty high on the list of places I would like to be during a zombie apocalypse. It has 2 main blast doors which are 3.5 feet thick and weigh over 20 tons. These massive doors close in times of emergency and have only been shut once during 9/11. Since this complex is home to so many important operations like a space control center and national warning facility, it's locked and guarded to the nines. That being said, since we know some of what's going on down there, it's far less desirable to visit. At number 5, Tillamook Rock Lighthouse. Located on the northern Oregon coast of the United States, also known as Terrible Tilly or just Tilly, this is one lighthouse that you can't visit. Tilly gained its nickname from the ferocious storms and difficulties facing the lighthouse keepers. Tillamook Rock rises nearly 100 feet from the sea and is located 20 miles south of the mouth of the Columbian River. Building the lighthouse in the first place was rough. The first person hired to take on the project was master mason and lighthouse builder John Trewavis. Unfortunately, John ended up being swept out to sea after falling off the rock before he could get far. After this incident, craftsmen were reluctant to work on the lighthouse, but construction foreman Charles Ballantyne stepped up with a crew of 8. Once on the rock, the men worked under horrible conditions. One day the wind was so bad it swept away their supply house and left workers stranded for 16 days. After preparing the rock, the construction of Tilly took over 100 days to complete. Tillamook Rock Lighthouse began operations in January 1881. With a starting budget of just $50,000, Tilly cost closer to $125,000 in the end. Duty at Tillamook Rock meant isolation, horrible storms, and hazardous environment. On top of that, supplies sent to the rock were often delayed for days or even weeks. It was decommissioned in 1957 due to the extensive wear and tear. The lighthouse has bounced between a few private owners manner since shutting off its light. Even if you wanted to visit Tilly today, you'd have to resort to a helicopter because of the harsh waters. The rock is even off limits to its owners come time for the seabird nesting season. At number 4, Dulce Base. Like Area 51, Dulce Base is the subject of conspiracy theories claiming that a jointly operated human and alien underground facility exists. Apparently, the facility lies under the Archuleta Mesa Mountain on the Colorado-New Mexico border near the town of Dulce, New Mexico. On the surface, Dulce is just your average small town, so small it doesn't even have a single traffic light. According to the bizarre claims, the small town is just the tip of the iceberg. The alleged massive underground facility is said to be home to unimaginable experiments and technologies. For the extreme alien believers, we are all overlooking a high-tech world full of aliens. According to the conspiracy theorists, the Dulce subterranean base is a 7-story compound that houses human-animal hybrids, human-alien hybrids, and extremely advanced technologies. It is possible that it's all made up, but if the government really was experimenting with aliens, it would make sense that they do it under a mountain near a very small town. One thing I find interesting about the Dulce base is that these theories are not new. First claims of the base's existence date all the way back to the 1930s. The rumors of alien intervention didn't start up until the 70s when a former state police trooper named Gabe Valdez documented unexplained cattle mutilations in the area. There have also been claims of UFO sightings and other paranormal activity in the area over the years. Secret aliens or not, it sounds like there's definitely something strange going on in Dulce that I don't want to look any further into. Number 3, Fort Knox. I bet you've heard at least once in your life someone make a reference to something being harder to get into than Fort Knox, and there's a reason for this. Fort Knox is a United States Army installation in Kentucky, south of Louisville. The reason it's so hard to get into Fort Knox is because of the Bullion Depository, a fortified vault located adjacent to the Fort Knox Army Post. It's operated by the United States Mint Police, and it's super well known for its physical security. The depository was built back in 1936 and is operated by the United States Department of the Treasury. The excessive security is in place because it's home to over half the entire country's gold reserves. Early shipments of gold totaling almost 13,000 metric tons were escorted by combat cars to the depository. In the past, it's also been home to other precious items like the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence. Fort Knox is so heavily protected and secure that the vicinity is off limits to visitors. Even the president has limitations. In fact, only one president has ever been allowed entry, and that was Franklin Roosevelt back in 1943. Along with the heavy-duty physical barriers and fences, the government pays $5 million annually just for security. Number 2, North Brother Island. This tiny island in New York City is located smack dab in the middle of the East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island. It was the site of the infamous Riverside Hospital for quarantinable diseases. If you've ever heard of Typhoid Mary, this is the place where she spent her final days and finally succumbed to her namesake illness in 1938. After World War II, the island was repurposed as housing for veterans and their families. Then it transitioned to being a rehabilitation center for adolescent substance use, which ended up closing in the 60s amid allegations of fraud. After being home to many dark but important facilities, the entire North Brothers Island was closed permanently to the public and became a bird sanctuary. That being said, photographer Christopher Payne was able to go to the island in 2006 after being granted access by the New York City Department of Recreation. The photos he captured of the island are a little haunting, especially with its history of rehab centers and hospitals for the disease. These photos are interesting to see, but do not make me want to visit the abandoned island even if I could. The whole place looks like it's been taken over by, well, birds, and it's crazy that it's so close to the hustle and bustle of the city. Many people have stepped foot on the North Brother Island over the years, but now the only way to get a glimpse is through Payne's photos or if you have wings and a beak. And at number 1, Niihau Island. This island has been privately owned for over 100 years with only an estimated 170 residents. The invite-only island sparked so much interest from travelers across the world due to its extreme exclusivity, commonly referred to as Hawaii's Forbidden Island. It is the westernmost main and 7th largest inhabited island in all of Hawaii. Niihau is also a crucial habitat for some endangered plant species. The island was purchased by Elizabeth St. Clair in 1864 for just $10,000, which would be the equivalent to about $170,000 in 2021. St. Clair purchased it from the Kingdom of Hawaii, and the ownership has been passed down down for generations, currently belonging to her grandsons, the Robinson brothers. The island is off limits to all outsiders unless the brothers Bruce and Keith personally invite you for a visit. The people of Niihau are noted for their remarkable craftsmanship and mainly speak in Hawaiian. The reason they have kept the island off limits to the outside world is due to a promise made to a former Hawaiian king. The promise was to protect the island from the mainland and the rest of the world to maintain the beloved heritage, and that's exactly what they've done. To this day, Niihau has rejected the use of modern technologies and survives without electricity, running water, internet, stores, restaurants, paved roads, or cars. A modern-day ancient civilization. It would be fascinating to see how they do things over on Niihau, but it's nice to know they've kept their promise for so long.
Starting off this countdown, we have Pravčička Brana. Located in the Czech Republic, this is a narrow rock formation and popular tourist attraction. However, the arch has been severely weakened over time due to erosion. Now visitors are no longer allowed to get on top of the arch. You're allowed to go and look at it, but only from afar. They're afraid that the arch will collapse with tourists on it, resulting in a number of casualties. As a result, it's prohibited to go on or near it. In fact, they believe that the arch might collapse very soon. So if you've always wanted to see it, go make a trip now before it's too late. In our 9th spot, we have McDonald's Island, Australia. This is an uninhabited island located in the southern Indian Ocean, and it belongs to Australia. In fact, this island and Heard Island are said to be one of the remotest places on Earth. That's one of the reasons why no one wants to go there. The other reason is that it's part of the IUCN's strict nature reserve. In order to keep the animals on the island safe, the island is closed to any outsiders. The only people allowed to visit the island are researchers, and even they aren't allowed to stay for too long, and they have to follow strict protocols so that they don't disturb the living conditions on the island. In our 8th spot, we have Maya Bay. Located in Thailand, this is another area that visitors are banned from as an attempt to restore the environment there. Basically, in 2000, the movie The Beach, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, was released, and since it was filmed in Maya Bay, the area was soon flooded with tourists. Millions of people visited the site per year. Sadly, the ecosystem greatly suffered from this. So in June of 2018, Thailand closed down the area to help the ecosystem. It remained closed until I believe this year, January. But if the environment is put at risk again, it might be shut down once again. Coming in at number 7, we have Woomera, Australia. This is a military and aerospace center and test range located in South Australia. This area is run by the Royal Australian Air Force, and it's so big that it's roughly the size of North Korea or Pennsylvania. Now, this area is strictly guarded by the Royal Australian Air Force. All we need is for someone to break in and get in the way of weapons testing. That would not be good for anyone. Like I previously mentioned, they own the airspace above, so anyone that tries to fly by or even flies too close to their area will be targeted. And I hope they leave fast enough before facing the consequences. Coming in at number 6 today, we have Plymouth. This area is often referred to as the Pompeii of the Caribbean. Why? Well, in 1996, a volcano erupted, causing a mass evacuation. A few months later, some residents returned, but were welcomed with another eruption. On June 25th, 1997, this eruption killed 19 residents, and it destroyed the island's airport, trapping many others from fleeing. Eventually, this area was evacuated again, but this time, no one wanted to return. Everything was destroyed. In fact, 80% of the town is currently covered in ash. Pictures show homes completely buried with only their roofs sticking out. So now, it's a ghost town. Now, there are some people allowed to visit the island, but the main area of Plymouth are restricted for, obvious safety reasons. Plus, there is a chance that the volcano might erupt again, and no one wants to be near it when that happens. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Fort Knox, Kentucky. This is a heavily guarded government facility / army installation that people don't really know much about, but it's said that it stores a large portion of gold and other valuable items that the US government has in their possession. In fact, this place is famous for being one of the most heavily guarded areas and one of the most restricted places on Earth. It's protected by 30,000 soldiers, so no one has even dared to try and visit. Plus, it's said to have some of the most sophisticated safety features. Moving on to number 4, we have the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. This is an underground base located nearly half a mile under a granite mountain. It's a massive military installation and defense bunker that is run by Air Force Space Command. In the late 1950s, it was used as a command and control center against long-range Soviet bombers. Then in 1967, it was taken over by the Aerospace Defense Command Combat Operations Center. Now, this base is very secure. First off, it's comprised of 6 tunnels. Each tunnel is 3 stories tall. The whole base is secured if a nuclear explosion occurs. In fact, it's protected by a 25-ton blast door. These doors will close within 45 seconds of the blast occurring, so they are really well prepared. In fact, it's said to be one of the most secure locations on the planet. In our 3rd spot, we have Jeannette Island. Located in Russia, this island is believed to be home to a secret Russian military base. Now, you want to know how top secret it is? Well, if you Google this island's coordinates on Google Earth, all you'll see is water, not even land. That's because they had it removed entirely from Google Maps. Before that, the island was just blurred out, so if you try to zoom in, the screen would kind of just go black. As a result, people believe that there's a concealed Russian military base located there, and a substantial one. I mean, the whole thing is wiped completely from Google Maps, so they don't want people knowing that it exists. Coming in at number 2, we have Menwith Hill. Located in the UK, this is the largest electronic monitoring station in the world. Now, if you see it, the area literally looks like a bunch of giant golf balls in a field. They're not, obviously. Each ball has its own antenna system, and it's said to be part of the Echelon system. For those of you who don't know, that is the code name of a very secretive and intense surveillance program. It's said to be one of the most terrifying surveillance systems out there. This site works on behalf of the NSA and is one of the 3 main sites operated by the US. In 2006, it was declared a secret and private zone, and they made it a criminal offense for anyone that tries to trespass. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Uluru. Uluru, otherwise known as Ayers Rock, is a massive sandstone monolith located in Australia. It actually was open to the public, and a number of climbers would scale the rock formation. That was until 2019. That's when it was declared a sacred place to the indigenous people in the area. And people were banned from climbing the rocks. It's said that those who do not obey this rule will be cursed. Also, any disrespectful tourists that visit the site will also be cursed. In fact, tourists who have visited the site and have collected rocks from it as a souvenir have later reported having extreme bad luck. A number of people have actually mailed the rocks back to the site to remove the curse. Starting off this countdown, we have Aksai Chin. This is a region in Asia which is a disputed border between China and India. As a result, some people call it the line of actual control. It separates India-controlled Ladakh from China-controlled Ladakh. Now, this area is only home to military personnel. No outsiders are ever allowed into this region. Only military personnel and high-ranking officials. I don't think anyone has dared to try and go to this area. I mean, why would you? It is said to be quite beautiful with like salt lakes and valleys, but it's also filled with officers and weapons, so... In our 9th spot today, we have the Google data centers. Now, I personally didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently Google has data centers located in 4 continents: North America, South America, Asia, and Europe. These centers store and process all of Google's data. Knowing just how big Google is, this is a huge deal. Photos of the centers show just how intense they are. And of course, these centers are completely off limits to visitors for a number of reasons. First off, we don't need random people wandering in and fooling around with things. Second is to protect Google from any kind of data breach. In our 8th spot today, we have the Queen's bedroom, which is kind of a funny one, not gonna lie. Buckingham Palace is said to have 775 rooms. I don't know anyone that needs that many rooms, but clearly the Queen does. One room that is highly off limits is the Queen's bedroom. Many areas in the palace are actually open for public tours, but never this one. her bedroom is heavily guarded, but it wasn't always. In 1982, a man named Michael Fagan broke into the Queen's bedroom. In fact, this is said to be one of the greatest security breaches of all times, and Michael did it just so he could win a bet with his friends. Anyways, after that incident, the palace didn't want to take any more chances, so the area is now heavily guarded. In fact, her bedroom is said to be one of the most restricted places on Earth. In our 7th spot today, we have the buffer zone. In 1974, the UN took control of a buffer zone in Cyprus after Turkish troops invaded the area. It created a civil war between the Greek and Turkish residents. So the UN took this buffer zone area to help end the fighting. Now, the areas in the zone are completely abandoned. You got abandoned homes, businesses, stores, even a small airport. It looks like a ghost town, or some say it's a place that will now remain frozen in time. In our 6th spot today, we have the Global Seed Vault. So it seems like our world kind of has a plan if the end of the world does happen. I don't know how reassuring that is, but okay. They still want humanity to survive. So basically, in Norway, on a remote island, there is a 11,000 square foot structure that houses more than 1 million seed samples from places all around the world. Basically, it allows us to preserve crops in case our environment is just completely destroyed. The structure was built to withstand earthquakes, floods, and even nuclear attacks. Now, only the government has access to this place, and they can only go in when they're putting seed samples away. It's considered the final backup of life, so they don't want anyone fooling around there. As a result, it's heavily guarded and off limits. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Mormon Church Vault. Located in Little Cottonwood Canyon outside of Salt Lake City is a vault owned by the Mormon Church. The vault is literally located 600 feet in the Granite Mountain, and it's filled with ancient archives, including family history records. It's said that it holds more than 3.5 billion images on microfilm and digital media. And obviously, they don't want anything to happen to their archives, so there's no public access to the vault. Not only that, but the doors are reinforced so that they're able to withstand a nuclear blast. Moving on to number 4, we have Bangalore Fort, India. This place is said to be the most haunted place in all of India, which is one reason why no one wants to go there. But if you do go there, you're only allowed to go between sunset and sunrise. If you visit any other time, chances are you'll wind up dead or cursed or both. So legend goes that there once was a man named Madho Singh. He was given permission to build this fort by the king under one condition. The fort never cast a shadow over his house. He said that if this happened, the city will perish. Now he obeyed his command and made sure that his fort never did. But Singh's successor ignored this, and he built the walls up higher. In the end, it cast a shadow over his house, and that's when the king's curse started. Now that's one legend. There's also another legend about a princess and a practitioner of black magic that cursed the town, and apparently to this day, it is still cursed. As a result, no foreigners are allowed, and like I said, you can never go there before sunrise and after sunset. According to locals, 3 men decided to stay there after sundown, and things went bad. One of the guys fell into a deep well. Now, he was rescued, but on their way to the hospital, all 3 of them got crushed in a road accident and died. In our 3rd spot today, we have the Forbidden Island. Located in Hawaii, there's an island called Niihau, or the Forbidden Island. And its name rings true. No one is allowed on this island. The only people allowed on the island are the descendants of those who lived there before them on the island. It was purchased in the 1860s, and ever since then, it's been home to one family, and one family only. In fact, the island even looks mysterious. You can't really see it unless you're on a specific beach during sunset, and that's when you can kind of see the island's silhouette. In our 2nd spot, we have Ise Grand Shrine. Located in Japan, this is a very important shrine for the Shinto religion. As a result, only high-ranking officials like priests and imperial family members are allowed to go there. It was originally built to honor the goddess of the sun and universe. In fact, it's said that it was constructed without using a single nail. It was constructed around 2,000 years ago, and since the late 7th century, it has been demolished and rebuilt every 20 years. Every time they do this, it costs $500 million. And that's because every detail has to be replicated. It has to look the exact same. Now they do this because it symbolizes the Shinto concepts of death and rebirth. It also helps to keep the building in great shape because wood has a shorter lifespan than other building materials. This way, it'll never rot. And in our number one spot today, we have Heard Island. There's a big reason as to why Heard Island is off limits to humans. That's because Heard Island is said to be one of the most dangerous places on Earth. It's home to a 9,000 foot tall volcano, which has been active since at least the early 2000s. Not only does it spew lava, but massive glaciers also like to tumble down and can easily kill anything in its path. The wind speeds there average around 20 miles per hour. It has gotten to 200 kilometers per hour, which is considered Category 3 hurricane force. Not only that, but if you did want to go there, it would take you 2 weeks to get there from a boat from Australia. And then you'd be risking your life doing so with the bad sailing weather. So no one really likes to go there.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Snake Island. Well, this island already sounds awful. What's going on here? Snake Island is located 95 miles off the coast of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Is that just a name of an island, or do a bunch of snakes live here? Well, sorry to tell you, both. What happened originally was thousands of years ago, the part of the land that once connected the island to mainland disappeared. The ocean rose up before any of these snakes had time to pack their snake bags, and they were stuck on this island forever. These snakes were stuck on the island decade after decade, so now these stuck snakes are just gonna mate and have more snakes. Now the island's full of snakes. The number of snakes is going up. Higher and higher, it's never stopping. One of the deadliest snakes in the world, the golden lancehead viper, yeah, there's over 4,000 of them on this island. It's horrible. Back from 1902 to the early 1920s, a few brave souls lived there and operated the lighthouse. But according to some local myths, the last lighthouse keeper was swarmed by snakes after he left a window open. Worst thing I've ever heard. Let's move on. Number 9, Surtsey Island. While some islands ban humans, others ban humans and seeds. Yeah, no seeds allowed on Surtsey Island. Leave the work snackies behind, my friend. Surtsey Island is an important one on our list here today, as this island was born in 1963. We got a brand new baby island. This new island emerged from the sea 20 miles off the coast of Iceland, and it took around 4 years for Mother Nature to complete this little passion project. An undersea volcano formed this island over the course of 4 years. Just slowly, just making a new island. That's a long, hot process, so now what? What do you do with a brand new island? Sandals Resort? Disney parks? No and nope. Nobody is allowed on this island. The whole idea of Surtsey Island, which I love, is that scientists are trying to study how ecosystems can form themselves without the involvement of us humans. Scientists around the world have all gathered around to do nothing about this island. They're just gonna watch. Only a select few can enter this island, and right before they clock in, they're checked head to toe to make sure they don't have any seeds. 0 seeds. Why? Oh, because scientists found a tomato growing and they were scratching their heads. Where did this come from? How, out of nowhere, how could it be? They were stumped until they found out somebody went number 2 in that same spot long before. Yeah, welcome to Surtsey Island. Hold it. Better not take a shit here or you're fired, buddy. Number 8, North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is the home of the Sentinelese tribe, one of the most forbidden islands on the world. We're talking about it, let's do it. Located in the Bay of Bengal, North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers away from India, and while most islands are shrinking, this one is actually growing. It grew back in 2004 phenomenally. Back in 2004, the island lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so the west and south sides gained an extra kilometer. The inhabitants on North Sentinel Island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world. You've probably heard about them or seen the thumbnail at some point. They have apparently been around for thousands of years, but there's no sign of agriculture or even fire. Yet still, this tribe has somehow continued to thrive. If we try and get close, they will attack us. After the 2004 tsunami, the Indian Coast Guard flew over to check on the island, make sure everyone's okay, but once they flew too close, the tribe attacked with arrows. So they could not land, obviously, but what if you arrived by boat? What would happen? Well, also bad. Back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they got too close to the island without knowing who was on it. The Sentinelese have lived here for around 60,000 years, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. Number 7, Niue Island. Located in Hawaii, Niue Island is quite small, and its population as well is pretty minimal, but why? Where is everyone? This is a beautiful island. Why wouldn't you want to live here? Why do only 170 people live on arguably one of the most beautiful islands in the world? Niue Island has also been referred to as the Forbidden Island, hence why we're including it on our list here today. It was bought back in 1864 by Elizabeth Sinclair, and it's been privately owned since then. So no one knows what's going on, hence the small population. The thing is though, in 1952, the polio epidemic hit the islands and a ban was then put in place permanently. You couldn't leave or enter the island. That's it. Locked down to the extreme. Like an island lockdown, that'd be so scary. Nobody got sick, but now if you want to enter the island, you need to gain special access, which is a lot harder than it may seem. Absolutely no tourists or outsiders allowed. Period. It was sold by Hawaii's king Kamehameha back in 1863 to the Robinson family, but as of 1915, no outsiders again are still allowed in. Some island cult behavior is going on here, I don't know. Whoever lives here does so without plumbing, telephone lines, or Netflix. Impressive. Even today, the island is of course off bounds. The Coast Guard is always patrolling the island too as well. What do you think lies on Niue Island? Top secret government stuff? Probably. Number 6, Heard Island. Have you heard about this island? Heard Island? No? Well, listen up. Right in the middle of Antarctica in Australia, there is this island, Heard Island. The Australian government has made it illegal for anybody to visit it, so if you have some free time and a kayak and some suntan lotion, don't even think about it. Go the other way. You won't make it. So why is this island forbidden? Is this one full of deadly snakes? Maybe, honestly. The myth here surrounding Heard Island is that there's animals we don't even know exist living here. We got some secret hybrid animals. This sounds a lot like Jurassic Park so far. The island itself is quite unique geographically. See, Heard Island is home to 2 volcanoes as well as the tallest mountain in Australia. So there's plenty of space for hybrid animals to hide and be scary. I love the idea of animals getting their own island, honestly. We have enough, I'd say. Time to give 1 or 2 back. Except for Snake Island. That one, we don't want that one. You can keep that one for sure. Number 5, North Brother Island. Located right between Rikers Island and the Bronx, quietly tucked away on the East River, North Brother Island was once home to a hospital back in the 19th century. You may be thinking, a hospital on an island? How inconvenient is this? What's going on? Riverside Hospital was available for patients suffering from yellow fever, smallpox, or tuberculosis. So it was a quarantine zone, essentially. The hospital has since been abandoned. It's now sitting there literally falling to pieces. And the island has been quite active, oddly. A body was found near the island recently. A steamship called the General Slocum crashed on the island. There's also a haunted lighthouse on this island. And they even have what's referred to as Coffin Corner on this island. Yeah, Coffin Corner. I'm all set. I'd rather explore the Bronx than explore this island, honestly. Number 4, Robins Island. Okay, we have a forbidden island and it's not cursed. We have a nice one, dare I say. Here we go. The privately owned Robinson Island is massive and beautiful. It's not made of lava or snakes, it's just sand and trees. Just a good time. And best of all, no humans at all. The 435-acre island sits off the coast of New Suffolk, New York. Many names have come and go when it comes to island ownership here, but as of right now, it's forbidden and it's a nature preserve. I'm okay with that. We can stay away from that one. The owner now is a man named Louis Bacon. He has poured time and money into building the sanctuary, and he fears that if anybody else gets involved, the whole thing will just fail. Honestly, considering our number 1 spot, he's got a point. Aside from that side quest that Mr. Bacon's pulling off, Robins Island is also home to the largest population of turtles in the state. So don't worry, he's not completely alone. He's got a bunch of turtles. Number 3, Diego Garcia Island. An island with an airport. Okay, there's gotta be something good here, right? Located in the Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia is perhaps one of the most bizarre on this list. Definitely interesting. The island was once a part of the United Kingdom, but in order to settle up a debt in the millions, the UK had to hand it over to the United States. Gee, I wonder what they did with it. Is it a turtle sanctuary? Is it a Forbidden Seed Island Part 2 perhaps? What's the game plan here? What are we doing? Well, today Diego Garcia is a top secret military base. Hence the airport. Although it's forbidden to enter, there's over 600 buildings resting on this island, as well as thousands of military personnel, but again, nobody knows what the island is really hiding, or what it's being used for. Maybe this is where they're keeping the Winter Soldier. Could be. He could punch through anyone. He could punch 6,000 people easily. Number 2, Poveglia Island. The small island of Poveglia has taken many lives. When the bubonic plague arrived in 1348, the island then became a quarantine colony, just like our one earlier. So if you had symptoms, you were sent to this island to... yeah, it was a sad reality, not a lot of solutions back then. Again, in 1630, the Black Death crept in, and once again the center of this island became a mass graveyard. All bad so far. The soil, they say, is 50% human remains at this point. So if you're looking to plant some haunted sunflowers, there you go. There's your soil, weirdo. Today the island is abandoned, rightfully so. It's closed off to both tourists and locals. Hey, now that things are opening up again, what do you say we head to Poveglia Island? Check out some bubonic plague history. No? We're good? Alright, cool. we'll go to Niagara Falls. If its dark history doesn't scare you away, the ghost stories surrounding the island might. In the early 20th century, mentally ill patients were sent to this island, but the doctor that was responsible for curing them for all these treatments, he would actually try these bizarre, insane methods, cruel methods, really. And the doctor himself ended up going mad, and he ended up jumping to his death from the bell tower. The bell tower no longer stands, but the soil is still 50% remains, so either way, ghosts or history, that's a no from me. I would rather go to number 1, Garbage Island. We must finish with this one, the largest island of them all. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Smells good. Smells like the ocean and all the garbage we've thrown into it. It's located in the North Pacific subtropical gyre. There's basically 4 of these large systems just swirling ocean currents, and some of them are chock full of garbage. Pretty disturbing, right? I've heard of the garbage patch before, but I had no idea how large it really was. This trash island is 3 times the size of France, and if that's not big enough for you, it's twice the size of Texas. Someone's like, oh, now I get it. This island is man-made, obviously, and it continues to grow. But it's not all grim, however, for our number 1 spot. There is a team working on reducing that size. The environmental nonprofit Ocean Cleanup has removed around 65,000 pounds of trash. So maybe next time you see this, there'll be only 9 islands. We're hoping. Starting off our list at number 10, Lake Natron. Okay, we got a few bodies of water on this list, and each one is horrible in their own unique way. This is considered one of the most inhospitable areas of the world. The lake's extreme levels of sodium carbonate decahydrate make the water corrosive to human skin and eyes, so you don't want to look at this stuff or touch it, just back away, pretty much. But the only animal that you'll see that's bigger than bacteria is a flamingo. Yeah, the protection of this lake is vital for us and also flamingos and wildlife. Save them by not tubing in this lake. Awesome. Number 9, Death Valley. With a name like Death Valley, it's gotta be pretty bad, right? There's a Death Valley in Zelda. That one sucks, I don't know. Death Valley sits on the California-Nevada border. It's known, of course, for its extreme heat. One of the hottest places on Earth, in fact. The only deserts on the planet that come close to the same level of heat here is in the Middle East and Africa, and on peak heat days, you know what I mean? It's like a different planet, Death Valley. It's horrible. Back in July 2018, Death Valley was the hottest place the Earth has ever seen. Broke records. For 4 days in a row, the average temperature went as high as 127 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 52 degrees Celsius. Imagine it's 52 outside. I'm sweating thinking about Death Valley. It feels like it's 52 degrees in that parking lot outside. I don't know why, but it's so hot right now. Number 8, Skeleton Coast. Again, another lovely name right off the hop. This one is not from a Zelda game, not yet at least, but it sits north of Namibia. It reaches from the South Kikine River to the Swakop River. It again lands on the deadly places on Earth list, but this time, why? There's water here, right? We could just cool down if need be, right? Well, the area, firstly, if its name didn't tip you off, is covered in skeletons. Nothing can survive here due to its harsh climates and toxic water, and you guessed it, human activity. Yeah, we kind of ruined this one as well. Humans tend to make things worse. Who knew? Number 7, Israel Cursed Tomb. Here we go, into the Mummy franchise. Let's do it. A secret tomb was discovered in Israel only a couple of months ago. Now, this is the first time a tomb has been found at the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 65 years, so it's quite a big deal. The actual cave itself was discovered a year ago, but these smaller chambers are now being found recently, right? As in like a month or 2 ago, recently. It's exciting on one page, but on the other, it's scary because some tombs are cursed. This one came with a message. It vows to curse anybody who would open said grave. And this message is written in blood red, just to make it more horrible. So yeah, can we not open this one? Maybe? I don't know. Last time we had a black sarcophagus in Egypt, people were sticking their heads in, and then, I don't know, a pandemic arrived 2 years later, so let's stop. Number 6, Egyptian tomb. We're all curious about what happens after you die, right? But nobody celebrated the end of your days like the ancient Egyptians. It was beautiful. Some tombs are cursed, others are, you know, nice. Ancient Egyptians would paint doors, they would leave valuables. Any new tomb we discover now provides more hints as to what lies beyond, perhaps. An ancient necropolis was discovered only a few years ago, again in Egypt, and in it contained dozens of coffins and a necklace that holds a message from the afterlife. Nice, now we're talking. We love little spoilers. Give us a hint. What can we expect? What should I wear? What's cover up there? This site is around 2,000 years old, and they're in the process currently of excavating it as we speak. But so far, the tombs and artifacts found, officials think, belong to an ancient priestess. A message from the afterlife is pretty spectacular, but what does it say? Well, we're still waiting to find out, but we're close. We're getting into the right, you know. James Webb's looking up, we're looking down. This is good. I'm terrified either way. Number 5, Chernobyl. Of course, one of the greatest nuclear disasters ever. We have to talk about it. Back on April 26, 1986, reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl power complex went off due to unstable and low power levels. Reactor 4 had been shut down a day before due to maintenance, and the next day at 1:23 a.m., radioactive debris compiled of fuel and reactor components just rained down over the building. Toxic fumes were carried from the wind, and after just 4 months, 28 workers had passed away due to radiation exposure, and the whole area had to be shut down. Eventually, they had to evacuate over 100,000 residents, and to this day, that zone is a no-go. Reactor 4 will stay highly radioactive for another 20,000 years, yet there's some residents who apparently still live there. Somehow. How terrifying is that? Number 4. The Forbidden City. Of course, we have to mention this one. Located in Beijing, China, the Forbidden City has quite the reputation. I'm never going near this one. This building used to be the Imperial Palace, and of course, like other places on this list, it's not littered with tourists, but this time for unobvious reasons. This building has quite the grim history, so the amount of reports that come in, sightings of demons, there's a lot. Apparently there's a lot of demons just lurking around. The number of ghostly encounters shot up once the palace opened to the public in the 1940s. In many of these cases, visitors would report seeing a ghostly woman dressed in, you guessed it, all white. The classic ghost apparel. More often than not, you can find her ghost wandering the palace at night, weeping. Yeah, tourists say they hear a woman weeping in the hallways. I can't tell if I'm sad or scared. A little bit of both. Number 3. Lake Acid. Not to be confused with Lake Placid, although that one's also pretty bad in its own unique way. The Lake of Acid is in Ethiopia, and since we mentioned super acid earlier, I figured this would be a good one to bring out. It's also referred to as the gateway to hell. The Danakil Depression is made of boiling hot ponds that release chlorine and sulfur gases into the air. So you don't have to look, you don't have to touch, you can just inhale and you're doomed. Just simply standing around this lake can kill you. So where does something like this come from besides, I don't know, science fiction? This is horrible. How does a lake of acid just come to be? What the f? Like, you know what I mean? It's a lake of acid. Can we, get rid of it? This horrifying landscape is the result of 3 continental plates being torn apart. It's part of the East African Rift System. Not 1, but 2 active volcanoes surround the Danakil Depression. Hence the, bubbling magma lurking below the dry landscape. That's what does it. It's one of the hottest places on Earth for a reason. Active hydrothermal ozones aren't new. That's what Yellowstone National Park is, but you need a gas mask to go to this one, so, We're camping over here, we're dying over here. Let's avoid it. Number 2, North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is the home of the Sentinelese tribe. You've probably heard about this at some point. Don't go here. One of the most forbidden islands in the world, okay? But why? Located in the Bay of Bengal, North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers from India. And while most islands are shrinking, this one actually grew back in 2004. The island actually lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so the universe is like, yes, more. The inhabitants on this floating cursed island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world, right? They haven't heard of the new iPhone or any of that. They're completely out of touch. They've been there for thousands of years and they're not going anywhere because, well, we're not trying to get close. There's no sign of agriculture or even fire, yet this tribe has thrived. If we try and get close, they try and drive everybody away. In fact, back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they got too close to the island without knowing who or what was on it. The Indian government didn't roll up to the beach and start interrogating or arresting locals. Instead, it's now completely forbidden to go to this island. Yeah, just leave them. Let people be. For once in our human lives, please. And finally, number 1, North Brother Island. Located right between Rikers Island and the Bronx, quietly tucked away on the East River, North Brother Island is a very different looking place when it comes to New York. It's quiet. Everywhere else is busy and full of hot dogs and pigeons and people yelling in cabs. This place over here, eerily quiet. North Brother Island was once home to a hospital back in the 19th century. Oh, nice, how helpful is that? You may be thinking a hospital on an island. One, that's pretty inconvenient. Just rowing patients out there, you're like, hang on buddy. Riverside Hospital was available for patients suffering from yellow fever, smallpox, tuberculosis. It was a quarantine zone, right? Although the hospital has since been abandoned, it's now sitting there just falling apart. Just cursed land. We love that. The island has been quite active though, in a way. A body was found near the island, a steamship crashed on the island, there's a haunted lighthouse on the island, and they even have what's referred to as Coffin Corner. I thought Coffee Time was bad. Coffin Corner, that's pretty, I'm all set. I'd rather explore the Bronx than explore this island, to be honest with you.
In our number number 10 spot, we have the Bodmin Jail. The Bodmin Jail is located in Cornwall, England. This jail opened in 1779, and in its most active days, King George III would hold more than 150 criminals in there. Quite the overcrowded prison of the time, although people have long held the belief that King George III was mad, so I suppose this decision could be the result of this. Apparently, over 100 years, 55 executions took place in Bodmin. A notable execution was a woman named Selina Wadge, whom many have believed that she still haunts the grounds today. Screaming and banging on the walls has been known to be heard at this prison. Now, this prison was closed and abandoned as a prison in 1926, but eventually it was actually turned into a tourist destination, so you can actually visit this prison. But honestly, at your own risk. You may run into the ghost of Selina, and some say she isn't quite as nice as Casper the Friendly Ghost, if you catch my drift. In our number 9 spot, we have the Atlanta Prison Farm. Located in Atlanta, Georgia, this is a prison that was caught on fire in 2009, and the firefighters did not even try to extinguish the flames. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a treasured landmark, that's for sure. The prison is a little different than the others, as it was surrounded by acres of land, and the prisoners would farm their food. This place was known for being overcrowded and having war criminals and people who were either wrongfully imprisoned or imprisoned for minor crimes. After many moons of being shut down and abandoned, eventually this place became a bit of an urban exploration adventure, as people thought it to be haunted, and even ghost hunters would often visit it. But honestly, just looking at the pictures of it, it's just so worn out and it reeks of low vibes that it looks like it would attract ghosts. You are prohibited from visiting this place, so don't even think about it. I am your YouTube mother. Nah, I'm too young. I am your YouTube older sister, and I encourage you to make good choices and not go. Okay? In our number 8 spot, we have the Old Salem Jail. The Old Salem Jail is located, of course, in Salem, Massachusetts. Home of the Hocus Pocus witches, of course. And yes, the town is known for, oh, just a little old thing as, the Salem witch trials. Ever heard of it? Well, if you haven't, Google it. It was quite the historical American event. That town attracts just the creepiest things. And so it wouldn't be surprising to hear about a jail that was known to be haunted. This jail apparently had stories from it that sounded too gory to be true that people didn't even want to tell them. It closed in 1991, and after being abandoned for a few decades, eventually a hotel brand bought it and turned it into luxury apartment flats. But apparently it doesn't matter how beautiful they make it look, the ghosts from the jail are still around there and people can still hear their cries. One of these days, I'm gonna have to visit these prisons in the hopes that I'll be able to hear these supernatural cries. Not that I like people crying, but I want to hear a ghost. You want to too. In our number 7 spot, we have the Holmesburg Prison. This prison has to be the worst abandoned prison in the world. I'm serious when I say that the fact that this existed and such inhumane practices were afoot makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest. The prison is located in Pennsylvania, USA, and it was active from 1896 to 1995. The fact that this prison was still open when I was a kid makes me the most uncomfortable. I think our ability to be compassionate has tripled in the last 25 years. Anyways, this is a jail where the prisoners were essentially boiled alive. I'm not joking. The prison was built out of stone and it had large steam radiators, and the wardens would make the temperature go up to 200 degrees, and some of the prisoners would literally die from the heat. To arguably make it worse, the prisoners eventually became testing subjects for biochemical, pharmaceutical, and dermatological weapons. So yeah, it totally makes sense to hear that people believe it to be deeply haunted. I bet. This is one of the darkest prisons by far. In our number 6 spot, we have the Ararat County Jail. In Ararat, Victoria in Australia, there was once a very known jail, the Ararat County Jail, that is now known for its shrieking cries, specifically from an area of the jail called the J Ward. The jail opened in 1861 and was originally intended as a Goldfields prison, but in the 1880s it was turned into a maximum security psychiatric facility for the criminally insane. Not only do people say they still hear the shrieking cries believed to be from the prisoners, but also moans and rapid footsteps are often heard. Apparently when they are heard, it's hard to know that they aren't real, as the footsteps sound so real and human-like. Ooh. In our number 5 spot, we have the Wyoming Territorial Prison. This prison was built in 1872 and was made to confine the growing number of criminals in the area. But not all went exactly according to plan. People kept escaping. This is wild to me. I didn't realize that any prison had a genuine problem with this. I thought when people escaped it was like a one-off thing. Anyways, yep, people would escape, and they had a bit of an overcrowding issue as well. A famous name from the prison though is a man named Julius Greenwald, who was sentenced for taking the life of his wife. He apparently had a quote-unquote expert hand when it came to rolling cigars, and boy would he smoke a lot of them. Apparently Julius's cigar scent can still be smelt at the prison in the place where he died in 1901. Passing away in 1901 from heart failure, Julius's ghost still lingers about in the place he died. It is said that you can also smell the cigar scent in the corridors leading to where he died. Interesting. Well, smoke and cigar/cigarette scents do tend to linger, so it makes sense. In our number 4 spot, we have the Carabanchel Prison. The Carabanchel Prison, located in Madrid, Spain, was originally constructed by political prisoners after the Spanish Civil War between 1940 to 1944. It was known as one of the biggest prisons in Europe until it was closed down in 1998. The prisoners were made to do slave labor when it was active, and after it was closed, it became known as an abandoned haunted building. In 2008, the Spanish government decided that it needed to be destroyed because no one should go onto the grounds. Probs because it was that haunted, but most likely because it was just a sad part of their history that they want to forget. Apparently a hospital and apartments are now in the area, and it hasn't been confirmed if people ever feel any paranormal activity, but we're gonna say probably. In our number 3 spot, we have the William Porter Reformatory. The William Porter Reformatory is located in Tokaji, South Africa. This is a bit of a disturbing prison because it was not exactly for adults. Most of the prisoners were actually quite young, which honestly makes me ill to think about. They were kept in isolation cells, and for what purpose? Oh, just a racially driven one. To further the separation between the black and white working class community, and to teach the prisoners to not interact and to socially know their place. Thankfully, this horrific place was closed down in 1910, but of course the energy and sadness must still surround the building. Seeing the pictures of this place honestly breaks my heart and makes me the most sad. In our number 2 spot, we have the Old Charleston Jail. The Old Charleston Jail is a jail that was built in 1802 in South Carolina, USA. This is an abandoned place that you may actually want to visit if you're someone who's very into supernatural phenomena, as this is a place that is known for its ghostly encounters. Ooh, yeah, I want to go. This jail was actually home to a very notable prisoner, Lavinia Fisher. Lavinia and her husband, John Fisher, were owners of a Charleston inn called the 6 Mile Wayfarer House, and they were sent to prison as apparently they were luring businessmen into their inn and then killing them and stealing their belongings. They say that her ghost is haunting this jail, and reports of many supernatural noises, smells, and sightings have occurred there. So maybe you don't want to visit this place. Something about this woman's story makes me think she's the type of ghost to want to possess you. But I have a very active imagination, so who knows. If I ever visit, I'ma go straight to a priest and get an exorcism afterwards. That's what I would do. And finally, in our number 1 spot, we have the Moundsville, West Virginia Penitentiary. Yes, of course, I have to have this one on the list. This place is one of the most known prisons of all time. The West Virginia Penitentiary is located, of course, in the state of Virginia, USA, and it is most known for its brutal punishments. It was active from 1876 to 1995, and during that time the prisoners experienced beatings so bad that some passed away from them. They also experienced electrocution, and yes, they also practiced hanging the prisoners for a very long time as well. The prison was also known for having many escapees and causing riots. The violence and the inhumane practices were inevitably what led to it being shut down. Many people believe the prison to be extremely haunted, so it is not advised to go and visit if you are fearful of seeing a ghost.
Starting us off at number 10, we have Jeannette Island. Located somewhere in the East Siberian Sea, this mysterious tiny island measures just 1.2 miles in length, and according to the powers that be, we are not supposed to know about it. From what we can tell, it's mainly covered in ice, so it's highly unlikely that there's any kind of civilization there. So the million-dollar question is, what are they hiding? Apparently there have been some issues about who the island legally belongs to, with disputes between the US and Russia over the years, which has led some to believe it could be some kind of top secret military base or something. But whatever it is, it's blurred out on Google Maps and no one is allowed to visit. Next up at number 9, Patio de los Norengos. Located in the gorgeous coastal city of Almeria in Spain, something about this place doesn't add up, and it's being kept a secret from the world. What's strange about this location in particular is that Patio de los Norengos translates to Orange Tree Courtyard, which, if that were true, why on earth would we not be able to visit it? So it begs the question, what lies beneath that blurred out square on Google Maps, and what could be so dangerous about it that we aren't even allowed to see it virtually, let alone in person? Maybe it's a government building, or maybe it's a top secret military base, but whatever it is, they are not keen on anyone knowing what is going on, which to me seems very suspicious. Coming in at number 8, Amchitka Island. Once home to the Aleut people for over 2,500 years, Amchitka Island has had no permanent population since 1832. In 1836, when the United States purchased Alaska, they gained control of the territory, and it's likely this purchase had something to do with the declining population. But that's not all. During the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it became the largest underground nuclear testing site and was controversial even then, in fear that the test could cause severe environmental impacts and desolate the land. Currently it's under observation for radioactive leakage, and so it has been blurred out from Google Maps to keep visitors far, far away. Coming in at number 7, a Russian warehouse. Deep in an unnamed forest in Russia lies a strange building that no one is permitted to see. Already it sounds like the start of a spy movie. From ground level, it's likely all you would see is the double high fencing that surrounds the mysterious warehouses, but from a bird's eye view, you can see it all. But just because we can see it on Google does not mean they want us to know what's in there. I mean, generally when you put a giant strange building in the middle of nowhere surrounded by a huge fence, you are trying to keep something a secret. Although no one knows exactly what this strange mile-long warehouse is, many suspect it to be some kind of military storage facility, possibly even storing explosives. So if that is the case, it would make sense why they put it in the middle of nowhere and why no one is permitted to visit. Coming in at number 6, underwater pyramids. Located in the Bahamas, this photo found in Google Maps has left many thinking that they discovered underwater pyramids. Now, I know, this is a full conspiracy theory, but I mean, I had to add it because it's too entertaining to leave out. Some believe it's proof of Atlantis or aliens themselves, while others have deduced it could have been built by an ancient civilization. The mysterious structure is estimated to measure between 3.5 to 11 miles across based on the photos, although no one knows for sure as you can't get to the structure to see for yourself. If it is in fact what many believe it to be, it would be bigger than any pyramid ever built. But seeing as though no one can visit them, it might be a long while before we know if these pyramids prove any kind of extraterrestrial involvement on Earth. Coming in at number 5, Sandy Island. Also known as the Phantom
Phantom Island, this peculiar location was first discovered by the famous British explorer Captain James Cook in 1774. Now, what's crazy about Sandy Island is that it was documented on maps, globes, and even nautical charts for 238 years. But now if you go to Google Maps, you will see no such island. The reason being that in 1979, it was quite literally undiscovered, as no landmass existed there, but even so it remained on Google Maps until 2012. This seemingly conflicting information made many wonder if there was something that we weren't being told about this strange island, or non-island, and some conspiracy theorists even believe that it is truly there and that we are being lied to. I mean, it isn't every day that something is undiscovered, so it does make sense to wonder if there is something going on behind the scenes, but I guess we will never know for sure. Coming in at number 4, Areno La Hague. Fully pixelated out on Google Maps, this recycling plant has a very strict no visitors policy, which is likely why you are not able to see the entirety of the complex. You might be asking, a recycling plant, what's so bad about that I'm not allowed to visit? Well, it's not just any old recycling place for beer bottles and juice boxes. The Areno La Hague is a recycling plant for nuclear fuel. So as you can imagine, it is an extremely hazardous place littered with nuclear waste, and so for those very obvious reasons, Google Maps keeps it blurred out to keep visitors from trying to figure out how to get there. Coming in at number 3, the GROM headquarters. If you have ever Googled Warsaw in Poland, you may or may not have come across a strange group of buildings that look like mysterious blobs compared to the rest of the city around it. Well, as it turns out, this is no accident. Those buildings are GROM, or GROM, I'm not totally sure, headquarters, which is essentially Poland's Special Forces building. All I can find out about this top secret group is that they rescued CIA agents from a mission gone wrong in Desert Storm back in 1991. And whatever else they're up to, they do not want you to know about. Which, I mean, I guess is kind of the point. So as much as I am sure many of us would like to know what goes on in this super secret Polish spy headquarters, I'm afraid that information is highly classified, and their exact location will continue to remain a secret from the public. Coming in at number 2, a massive pentagram. Somewhere in the outskirts of Kazakhstan lies a dark symbol that has literally been carved into the earth. Although you might not be able to fully see the entire symbol at ground level, from above, the stark pentagram is clear as day. Conspiracy theorists have linked the cliffside pentagram to the Freemasons and Wiccans, stating that it is a site of animal sacrifice and satanic ritual, although this has never actually been confirmed. Still, the exact location of the pentagram is difficult to track down, and though not necessarily illegal to visit, I would definitely stay far away from anywhere rumored to be the site of a satanic ritual. And last up, in our number 1 spot today, we have a UFO crash site. Whether you tend to believe in aliens or not, this one is pretty freaking wild. From what you can see on Google Maps, it appears that a flying saucer crashed in the plains of South Africa. Around the UFO is a well-worn dirt path, which has led some to believe that aliens themselves could be hiding out there, as no one has visited the site since it was discovered, and how else would a dirt path have been formed if not by someone or something walking around the area? The top appears to be metallic from the area shot, which is unlike any rooftops on other buildings in the area, and many conspiracy theorists are convinced it's a UFO. No one has seen the site to know for sure, or at least no one has returned to tell the tale.
At number 10, we have 36 degrees north, 117 degrees west, Death Valley, USA. One of the worst spots in America to get lost on a hiking trip. Now, thanks to air-conditioned cars and cell phones, most people won't meet their end in this wasteland, but back when pioneers had to cross this desert, it was one of the most challenging tasks imaginable. If you were caught out there without supplies, you would last less than a day. Either dehydration, sunstroke, or one of the many predators living out there would make you meet your end faster than a pizza pocket when I'm drunk. Death Valley has the highest recorded temperature on the planet, clocking in at 57 degrees Celsius. The whole joke about being hot enough to fry an egg on the sidewalk is real there, except it won't be an egg, it will be your intestines as a vulture rips them out of your stomach. And if you manage to make it through the day into the night, the temperature will plummet. In the winter, it can get as cold as -10 Celsius. As beautiful as the desert can be, I don't think I would want this to be my next vacation spot. If you're ever traveling through there, make sure you bring a ton of water and some blankets just in case your car breaks down. That would suck. At number 9, we have 25 degrees south, 153 degrees east, Fraser's Island, Australia. Australia is a beautiful place. It's like hot Canada with more fighting and beer. Honestly, I've never been there. I'm just basing it off of movies and TV. I'm really stereotyping you guys. I'm very sorry. But globally, Australia is known for housing some of the most dangerous creatures on the planet, and Fraser's Island is considered the most dangerous place in Australia. It's basically a funnel for several different dangerous species. To start it off, there are 2 types of jellyfish which are common to Fraser's Island: Irukandji and blue bottles. Both of those jellyfish have stings so severe that they will send you to the hospital. And if the waters weren't dangerous enough, this is also a hotspot for young great white sharks. I'm assuming they go to these beaches for biting practices. They want to get their reflexes nice and sharp before they chase down some surfers. So you might be saying to yourself, well, I'll just stay out of the water and I'll go explore the island. Well, there are packs of wild dingoes running around waiting to turn your tibia into a chew toy. Oh, and if you get attacked by any of these wild animals, there is 0 medical services on the island. So you better hope you don't bleed out fast while the helicopter is zooming you to save your life. At number 8, we have 12 degrees north, 57 degrees east, Danakil Desert, Ethiopia. We're jumping back into the heat, and with winter just around the corner, this place makes me kind of jealous. I know that temperatures in deserts are high enough to kill someone, but I think it might be nicer than having to wait for a bus in the snow. Anyways, the Danakil Desert, also known as the Danakil Depression, is one of the hottest places on the planet, and because of its extreme heat, it's home to natural wonders. First, there is a decent amount of volcanic activity. This might be one of the only places on Earth where you walk into the desert to cool off. There's also mysterious salt pools. These are one of the largest tourist attractions in the area. Salt deposits build up on the sides of these pools, and the water is packed with sulfur. The salt has the aesthetic of a rimmed glass straight from nature's cocktail lounge. However, don't drink from one of these pools unless you want a slow, painful death. And I think we can agree we're all looking for swift and numb when it comes to dying. The pools are extremely poisonous. Even the air just above the pools is so packed with carbon dioxide that when small animals get too close, they will suffocate and die. And here's the cherry on top of the sundae, this place is nicknamed the Gateway to Hell. Wow. Beautiful. At number 7, we have 37 degrees north, 59 degrees east, Fukushima, Japan. For anyone who is unaware why Fukushima is a place you do not want to visit, it is home to the 2nd largest nuclear disaster ever. In 2011, a major earthquake hit Fukushima, damaging a power plant, causing the city to evacuate. Since then, no one has been allowed to return, and the situation has improved, but it is not looking great. In order to keep the core cool of this power plant that melted down, they are constantly pouring water on top of them. This water is then contaminated with radiation, obviously, and they must contain it so it doesn't spread. But they are running out of places to put this contaminated water. Also, the city is now overgrown with vegetation. With the absence of people, the forests have started to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. And with it has brought a little bit of wildlife. I talked about this in a previous video, but I wanted to mention again because this is actually crazy. Radioactive wild boars have come into Fukushima and are thriving. For whatever reason, they do not seem to be afraid of radiation, and they are staking their claim on the land. This is how monster movies start. Next thing you know, we're gonna have giant mutant pigs swimming across the Pacific Ocean, coming here to eat the West. At number 6, we have 2 degrees south, 36 degrees east, Lake Natron, Tanzania. From a distance, this lake seems like a bronze wonder. The color and stillness looks like something pulled right out of a travel magazine. But this is the last lake you would want to take a swim in. There is only 3 things that have managed to live in this lake. 1 species of fish, 1 type of flamingo, and some algae. Everything else that touches this water dies extremely fast. Why is that? Well, the pH in the lake can sit around 9 and sometimes stretch up to 10.5. The animals that call this place home have adapted to the harsh conditions. But let's say a bird unfamiliar with the area decides to take a dip. Their eyes and skin will be burned from the high pH levels, and the ending result will look like they've been hit with Medusa's gaze. At number 5, we have 44 degrees south, 71 degrees west, Mount Washington, Washington, USA. Alright, we did a couple places in the excruciating heat, and now it's time to head into the bitter cold. Mount Washington is freezing, and it has temperatures that can reach 40 below. Fun fact about 40 below, that's where the two scales of Celsius and Fahrenheit meet. You can share that with your friends next time you're freezing to death in the -40 weather. I'm sure they'll love that little tidbit of information while their nose peels off. And if the brutal cold wasn't enough to make you want to avoid this place, it also has the fastest winds ever recorded on a mountain. 238 miles per hour. That's over 300 kilometers per hour. That's stronger than a Category 5 hurricane. The wind is so strong it will give your face freezer burn right before it rips it off and sends it hurling down the mountain. At number 4 on the list we have 24 degrees south, 46 degrees west, Snake Island, Brazil. I didn't make this place up. I know it sounds like something pulled out of a cheesy low-budget 80s action movie, but it's real, and it has enough snakes living there to make the cast of The Real Housewives for decades. There is one snake for every square foot. I don't have a fear of snakes, but there's still no way I'm going to get close to this place, especially since almost every species on the island is extremely venomous. There's even rumors that snakes will swim off the island to boats that are too close and kill the people on board and then eat them. I even heard there's a symbiotic relationship with the birds on the island and the snakes on the island, where the birds will pick up the snakes and then drop them on people who are on the island so they get like an air attack and kill them. That one I made up. I just kind of wanted to hype up the story a little bit more. But your real biggest worry is about getting bitten and then having to ride in a boat back to the mainland to go see a doctor. It's a 90-kilometer trip, so you would probably be dead before you got anywhere close to any sort of medical attention. At number 3 we have 3 degrees north, 98 degrees east, Sinabung Volcano, Indonesia. I mean, who wouldn't want to live right next to an active volcano? It seems like a swell place to raise a family. But you guys are probably wondering, well, you can live next to an active volcano, but that doesn't mean it's gonna blow up all the time. Well, between the years 2010 and 2016, Sinabung has popped off 5 times in 6 years. That is crazy. This place has blown up more times in 6 years than Conor McGregor has fought. And he is a professional fighter. Huh. I hope he doesn't find me and kick my ass. I don't know, that could happen. I'm sure it's a beautiful place, but it would be hard to tell with all the constant lava flowing through it. This volcano is part of the Ring of Fire, which is a string of volcanoes lining up with tectonic plates that erupt more often than usual. So I'm not eager to check this place out, but you guys can go for me. At number 2 we have 25 degrees north, 70 degrees west, the Bermuda Triangle. Any kid growing up in the 90s heard about the Bermuda Triangle again and again. It was the plot point in every show from Scooby-Doo to Jackie Chan's adventures. Yo, remember Jackie Chan had a cartoon and it was absolute fire? That cartoon was so good. Anyways, the Bermuda Triangle is a large chunk of the Atlantic situated between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, and has been a hotspot for people disappearing. Planes, boats, rescue missions all have vanished without a trace, and it leaves people baffled as to what is going on. Some people think it's a hotspot for storms to kick up, other people say there's magnetic forces that destroy navigation equipment. The crazier theories suggest that the Bermuda Triangle is a gateway for interdimensional travel, that aliens use this to fly across the universe in an instant. Even though there's a lot of disappearances from this area, many of them have been explained, but there's still a ton of cases that leave people wondering what's going on in this mysterious chunk of ocean. Ugh. I don't know why I did that tongue thing at the end. And number 1 on our list is 40 degrees north, 58 degrees east, the Darvaza gas crater, Turkmenistan. Right off the bat, this place is nicknamed the door to hell. It has an even creepier nickname than that other hell place. Not the place you want to spend your honeymoon, unless you're both super metal, then it's probably like a great choice. Turkmenistan has a massive natural gas reserve, and that has been the fuel to the door to hell. It was back in 1971 when Turkmenistan was still part of the Soviet Union. There was construction underway, and a drilling operation caused a large amount of the earth to collapse in. And what started flowing out of it? A toxic gas. If it wasn't dealt with quickly, it would have poisoned the entire area. Good news though, the gas was flammable, so the Soviets figured, we'll just light it on fire, it'll burn for a little while, and then we'll get back to work, comrade. Well, it did catch on fire, and then it did burn, but it never stopped. It has been burning since 1971, and has no sign of going out anytime soon. And if a giant pit of fire wasn't enough to keep you away, Turkmenistan is run by a dictator. Have a nice vacation. At number 10 we have Mogadishu, Somalia. Alright, we're gonna kick off this list with a place that has all the key points in a place you do not want to visit. Do they have kidnappings? Oh, you better believe it. Tourists who make the mistake of traveling alone can often get a burlap sack put right over their head and be on a one-way ticket to Ransom Town. If you are an American, there is an increased chance of you you getting scooped up, so keep an eye out. Actually, it is recommended that you travel with a bodyguard. Okay, so they have that, but do they also have gangs? Yes sir, they do. Gang violence is a regular thing and civilians are killed all the time. And the cherry on top is there also is a very unstable government with a military constantly walking through the streets. Not to mention the people are suffering. So unless you're traveling with military protection and you have the need to stabilize an unstable country, maybe choose Cancun for your next vacation. At number 9 we have the Siatrem River in Indonesia. In places all over the world, resources are so tight that people are forced to exploit their environment. The Siatrem River is a living representation of this. It's located in Indonesia and there's very little infrastructure around there for these people to live a clean and healthy life. So they resort to taking what they can from the land. This river is extremely polluted because the 5 million people who live there have to use it to bathe, water crops, dispose of waste, dispose of garbage, and drink. The river has been so polluted that any wildlife that used to call this place home has either left or died. It is terrible to see a place where people are forced to live without clean drinking water. At number 8 we have the Queen's Bath, Hawaii. There are beautiful beaches, parties everywhere, and enough drunk tourists to make a conga line all the way to the American mainland. But it's the wonderful attractions that can lure people into a false sense of security. On the island of Kauai, there is an absolutely breathtaking formation called the Queen's Bath. It is a natural pool formed right into the rock bed of the island. It kind of looks like a place royalty would come to dip their feet in while they drink champagne and laugh about stealing the world's resources. But this place is similar to a Venus flytrap. Gorgeous to look at, but when you get too close it can be dangerous. People will often go swimming in the Queen's Bath, and then a very strong wave will come through and either bash them against the rocks or wash them out to sea. There are tons of warning signs trying to tell tourists that they should not go swimming in this pool, but every year tourists either drown or need to be rescued. At number 7 we have Syria. Syria has been in constant turmoil for many years. First there was constant civil war, the rebel soldiers battling the government every single day in an attempt to liberate Syria from the oppressive government. This meant that warfare was commonplace in the streets, and then ISIS took over a major chunk of Syria, which obviously meant that the violence only escalated. Then the American troops had to come in and try and push out ISIS, which meant even more war. It seems like the struggles in Syria will never end. Can everyone there just like call a timeout? Like everyone just stop fighting for 2 minutes and then just be friends and see what happens. I think that is the worst advice I have ever given anyone. Yeah, Che, you can stop war by everyone just being friends. And that's why I'm making top 10 lists and I'm not in politics. At number 6 we have Oymyakon, Russia. Here's something about me. I love warm weather. If it's 40 plus Celsius and I'm sweating at home just from putting on my pants, I've never been happier. So this place would be hell on earth for me. Oymyakon is the coldest inhabited place in the world. 500 people live there year round for some unknown reason. They must like it when it gets so cold that your eyeballs freeze inside your head, which is a real thing that can happen. The temperature can drop to negative 62 degrees Celsius. That's minus 80 Fahrenheit. It would be so cold I would want to cry out, but my tear ducts would be frozen, so all I would be able to do is scream and pray for death. One of the weirdest things about this place is it's actually a tourist attraction. People will choose to go to the coldest village on the earth rather than eating pizza in Italy. If you're that kind of person, don't talk to me. I don't need your weird vibes getting on me. I'm vibing all the time. I don't want your bad cold vibes in my life, okay? One of the main tourist attractions at this place is a giant thermometer that will remind you how much fun you're having by showing you the lip slicing temperatures. And one time it got so cold in this village that the thermometer broke. What the hell? At number 5 we have Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This one is a toss-up. Like, I would probably go to Rio. Rio's an amazing city. It's filled with some of the most gorgeous people you've ever seen in your life. They have the amazing Carnival festival where you can party for like days and probably fall in and out of love 10 times. Brazilian food is amazing. You can go to a Brazilian steakhouse and eat enough meat that you'll get meat sweats that soak right through your shoes. But Rio definitely has a darker side. Rio's one of the most dangerous cities on the planet. There is a ton of gang violence, with Rio being a major hotspot for drug trafficking and gun trade. You also have a good chance of getting kidnapped or murdered. So when you're picking your next vacation spot, you gotta decide how bad you want to see people dance on a float during Carnival. At number 4 we have Lake Nyos, Cameroon. Back in August of 1986, a giant cloud of carbon dioxide erupted out of the bottom of Lake Nyos. This invisible cloud of death spread fast at 50 kilometers an hour and ended up killing 1,700 people. This is the kind of thing where legends of God gods and monsters come from. If this happened when an ancient civilization was living there, they wouldn't have known that this was caused by a giant carbon cloud from a nearby volcano. They would have thought it was some sort of demonic force and they needed to sacrifice things. They would have been afraid of this lake until the end of time. But thankfully we have computers to tell us what happened. A seismic shift caused gas from a volcano to come through Lake Nyos. This is normal, but the gas usually is released slowly, not in these massive amounts like this. Since this happened, scientists have developed a way to extract gas from the base of the lake, preventing it from happening again. But even though they're taking safety measures, you won't catch me anywhere near this place. At number 3 we have the Ganges River, India. The Ganges River in India is one of the most polluted rivers on the planet. If you thought the river Siatra was bad, it has nothing on the Ganges. This river is used for sewage, personal waste, and the waste of major companies. And get this, over 500 million people use this river regularly. Some people come visit it every day because they believe it has holy powers that can heal you, which is absolutely not true. The river is actually packed with harmful chemicals that cause cancer. From all the constant traffic of people visiting the river, it's only getting more polluted. There is trash that is left there every day from all the people that make the trip. And there isn't even a proper cleaning system, so the problem is only getting worse. At number 2 we have the Skeleton Coast, Namibia. This place has all the pieces of an environment that is trying to kill you. I mean, it's called the Skeleton Coast for God's sake. They didn't call it sexy fun Margarita Beach. No, they didn't. First off, we have very harsh waters. The tides and waves are so unpredictable that you can see the shells of all the shipwrecks along the coast. Everything from major tankers to little tugboats can be seen broken down along this beach. If you're one of the people who are unlucky enough to get shipwrecked here and survived by swimming to the mainland, you would now be in one of the worst deserts on the planet. It is extremely dry with almost zero water sources and spans hundreds of kilometers. There's also this eerie fog effect that comes off the ocean and covers the desert, meaning you could be lost in a brutal landscape without being able to see 10 feet in front of you because the fog is so thick. That sounds like a pleasant way to die. At number 1 we have Caracas, Venezuela. Okay, for the number 1 spot we have one of the most hostile cities on the planet, so strap in. The entire country of Venezuela has been at war with its own government for years now. Protesters are shot and killed in the streets on a regular basis, and all this chaos has seemed to be boiled down to Caracas. People desperately want their freedom from the oppressive government, and on top of that, there's an insane amount of organized crime. You have drug lords moving products through the city constantly, and hijackings are a regular occurrence. And it's suggested that you never wear anything expensive when you're walking through the street because people will rob it right off your body. So leave your Gucci sneakers at home unless you want to be walking around barefoot. To give you a little perspective, if you Google countries with the most murders right now, Caracas will be number 3.
Starting off this countdown, we have Amchitka Island. Located in Alaska, sections of this island are blurred out on Google Maps, and no one really knows why this is. But it may have to do with the nuclear testing that once took place there. From the 1950s to the 1970s, Amchitka Island was the site of US underground nuclear testing. Nowadays, they are running tests to see if the island has any radioactive leakage there. If there isn't, then in 2025 it could become a wildlife reserve. But again, why is half of the island blurred out? Maybe that's the section where the nuclear testing took place. But why is it still blurred? A lot of people think that the military is doing some suspicious illegal activities there and that's why. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. In our 9th spot, we have 2207 Seymour Avenue. And if you guys are liking this video so far, then make sure to give it a big thumbs up. 2207 Seymour Avenue, located in Cleveland, Ohio, is a home where a horrific crime took place. From 2002 to 2004, Ariel Castro kidnapped 3 young women: Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Georgina De Jesus. He kept them captive in his home until 2013 when Amanda Berry escaped with her daughter and contacted the police. The police came to his house and rescued the other women. Castro was arrested within hours. He was sentenced to life plus 1,000 years in prison without parole. Due to the disturbing crimes that took place at his home, Google Maps decided to blur his house. In fact, the house has been named the House of Horrors. But a couple years back, his house was demolished to help the victims move on from their traumatizing past. Coming Coming in at number 8, we have the French nuclear facility. The Arriva-La Hague nuclear fuel reprocessing facility in France is another place that is blurred out on Google Maps. This facility opened in 1976 and is responsible for treating nuclear fuel from several countries. Here's the thing though, this facility hasn't always been blurred out. By using the Google Earth History tab, you can see old Google Earth images of this facility. So now, why all of a sudden is it blurred out? What is going on there? Well, it may have something to do with the controversy it has received and the backlash it received from Greenpeace. Since 1997, Greenpeace has been trying to shut it down, saying that they dump 1 million liters of liquid radioactive waste per day in the ocean. That is severely messed up if that's true. Maybe that's why it's blurred out, so that people don't see what they're really up to with their nuclear waste. Moving on to number 7, we have the French prison. There are a number of prisons that are blurred out on Google Earth, including the Beaumet prison in Marseille. Now, why do they blur out images of prisons? Well, a couple of reasons. One, for privacy. But the main reason is so that the criminals don't know the layout of the prison. Basically, this prison wasn't always blurred. Following a successful jailbreak, France's Minister of Justice was like, why are there aerial images of this prison available online? And then that led to the prison getting blurred. But of course, you can still find older images of the prison on Google Maps that show what it looks like and its layout. In our 6th spot, we have the Antarctic ice shield. This is another pretty strange place to get blurred. But basically, halfway between Australia and Madagascar, there is a 22-kilometer long blur in the middle of the Antarctic ice shield. I mean, this place is one of the most isolated places on Earth. There's nothing but ice and penguins there. So why is it being blurred out? We don't know for sure, but people think that there is something hidden there that we're not allowed to see. Although it's thought to be owned by Australia, theory goes that Russia or the US have built a research facility there. The only way we'll know for sure is by visiting the place itself. So who's coming with me for this field trip? It'll be a lot of fun. Come on, just pack a snowsuit and lots of hot packs. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Moroa Island. Located in French Polynesia, this island was first used for nuclear testing in 1966 by France. These tests apparently took place until 1996. That's when the French president shut down the facility. Why? Well, Greenpeace found out that these tests were polluting the water as far as Peru and New Zealand. In fact, many locals in Tahiti have claimed they have been affected by the radiation from the tests. Nowadays, the island is off limit to visitors and is guarded by French forces, which is probably why half of the island is blurred on Google Maps. Or maybe it's because they're still doing these nuclear tests. We may never know. Moving on at number 4, we have Elmira Correctional Facility. Elmira Correctional Facility, also known as The Hills, is a maximum security state prison in New York. This is another facility blurred on Google Earth. Why? Well, a number of reasons. 1, they have fears of an aerial attack. Number 2, they have fears that someone will use this information to plan an escape. And number 3, the prison is highly secure. Why would they want images of the building online for everyone to see? But it turns out that this location got blurred after a number of riots and mass escapes. Moving on at number 3, we have North Korea. Okay, is it even shocking that North Korea has sections of its country blurred? I mean, they are so secretive, so this isn't a surprise at all. Now, the area that is blurred is along the country's western shore. So people have thought that they are hiding something there, maybe a secret military project. Who knows? I mean, hey, the country is hiding so many things. Like I said, this one doesn't really come as a surprise. In our 2nd spot, we have Paseo de los Naranjos. Located in Spain, this place translates to orange tree yard, and it is completely censored on Google Maps. No matter how close you try to zoom in on the map or the area close by, you won't be able to see anything. Why? Well, there's a lot of government buildings located there, so it's blurred out for security and privacy reasons, which makes sense. Many government or military buildings are blurred out on Google Maps for similar reasons. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Jeannette Island. Located in Russia, this island is said to contain a secret Russian military base. If you type this island into Google, you'll find a whole lot of nothing. Legit, it just looks like a bunch of water. It's not even registered on Google Maps as an island. When you type in its coordinates, you will see a message that says this island is unavailable. Now, before it was removed from the maps altogether, it wasn't even blurred out. It was actually blacked out. Like there was a full-on black mass just covering it. But when you zoomed in, you could see this icy mass, and that's all. According to Reddit user Exoplanetary Science, he said, and I quote, "Google rarely blacks out without reason. A search through Google Earth shows that this has been permanently blurred out, even in images dating back to the 1980s. I'm going to guess there's a concealed Russian military base located there, and possibly quite a substantial one." So, there you have it, folks. Secret Russian military base.
The haunted crosswalk kicks things off in at number 10. Somewhere in South America on Google Maps, there is a crossroad, but there are some things you should know before you decide to cross the street at this busy intersection. Aside from looking both ways, before you cross, you might want to take extra precautions because you might stumble across a dark figure. According to the local legends, if you enter the middle, you will see everything go dark, and then you'll be met face to face with a shadowy figure known as the Crossroad Reaper. Well, here's a picture of the Reaper caught on Google Maps camera. Don't believe he's real? Well, why don't you try crossing the intersection yourself? And then you try to tell me you never saw him. Up next, number 9, we have the creepy Scientology base. The Church of Scientology has been involved in a ton of controversy over the years. From its treatment of its members to its highly secretive practices, a lot of people are actually scared of this religion. For people that aren't members, it's actually pretty hard to know what exactly is going on inside of their buildings. One of their churches called Trementina is one of the properties owned by Scientology that can be seen on Google Maps over in New Mexico. Well, take a look for yourselves. You guys are looking at it right now. Okay, what the heck is happening inside of this building? They say that they use it to preserve books and movies, but honestly, who knows? They could be performing satanic rituals for all we know. Nuclear testing facility makes its way onto this list at number 8. Here we have a picture of a Google satellite image of a nuclear testing facility located in Nevada. So yeah, probably pretty close to Area 51. I think the reason why you should never visit this location is it's highly obvious. It's definitely not open to the public, and I'm not sure why you would want to even attempt to step foot near this location, and that's because it is full of so much radiation. Mushroom clouds can be seen up to 100 miles away in the distance, so this actually caused a lot more tourists wanting to visit Las Vegas. My idea of a good time does not involve slot machines and clouds of nuclear radiation, but that's just my opinion. It's actually really scary to think about it, that the fact that we are testing deadly nuclear weapons. Helltown in New Baltimore brings us to number 7. A Google Street View car managed to capture this image on their camera. Could this just be an equipment glitch, or could something more sinister be going on in this small town? Apparently people in this area are saying that there is a portal to hell in the area. Residents of New Baltimore have been reported that their little town has been taken over by evil demonic entities, so of course Google sent out a car to get, better pictures, more updated pictures, more accurate pictures. How about you bring them a couple of priests and it's time to bless the area. Next up, number 6, we have China's Area 51. What you're looking at right now could actually be China's version of Area 51. Is this real life right now? These strange white lines were discovered on Google Maps in the middle of China's Gobi Desert, and this image struck so many conversations online about what it could be. Most people believe that it's a calibration pattern for spy satellites, but then there are others that say that these lines prove aliens exist. These lines are located near the headquarters of China's space program, but unfortunately we may never know the truth about what is really going on here. A very haunted bridge brings us to number 5. This is Booger Holler Bridge, and if you value your life, well, you'll never want to set foot or attempt to cross it, and that's because it is known to be extremely haunted. Legend has it that a father and son drowned while trying to cross the low bridge on a horse and buggy many years ago. And then there's another story about a woman and her child drowning when their car stalled on the bridge and the car was thrown into the river due to the strong current. People have even said that they can hear screams from the bridge, and people do satanic practices on it for some reason. So needless to say, the Google Street View car got close to the bridge, but they didn't dare cross it. Number 4, we have a creepy doll village. If you don't like looking at scary life-sized human dolls, then you'll never want to visit a small village in Nagoro, Japan. But in case you're curious, well, here's a taste of what you'll find there. Well, I told you that these dolls were creepy, but that's not all. Apparently an old lady will make a new doll every time someone in the village dies. So the amount of dolls outnumber the amount of people actually living in the village by about 10 to 1. I mean, could you imagine walking around at night and seeing all of these creepy dolls just staring at you? Couldn't they just be placed inside of an art gallery or something? This whole thing just makes me uncomfortable. So you know what, let's get the heck away from it and let's move on. Let's see what we have next. Scary underwater pyramids is up next at number 3. Well, this is an image taken from Google Maps that shows us that some creepy underwater pyramids might be lurking at the bottom of the ocean over in the Bahamas. This image sparked a lot of controversies when people said that these underwater pyramids can prove that aliens might be living among us. More reasonable people believe that these pyramids could have been made by an ancient civilization. But they also admit that we still can't rule out the existence of alien life forms, just yet. A nuclear fallout zone steps onto this list at number 2. Pripyat, Ukraine, has a bad reputation of being the site of the worst nuclear disaster in history. It's literally a ghost town with abandoned buildings that will probably never be lived in for a very long time. But the creepiest part of this town has to be this picture right here. Well, take a look for yourselves. It's literally a room full of old gas masks that were left behind. I don't know what's scarier, the amount of gas masks or the fact that there were child-sized gas masks left inside of an abandoned school. And topping this list, and at number 1, we have one of the most dangerous cities on Earth. This right here is El Bronx, Colombia. And even though the city is completely demolished now, it was once known as the most dangerous city on Earth. This was a neighborhood that was known for child prostitution and murder. Put it this way, if you found yourself walking the streets of this neighborhood, something awful would probably happen to you. Some of these buildings also had a lot of rotting murder victims inside, and gangs used to capture and feed rival gang members to starving dogs just to send the other gang a message.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the pigeon people. Japan is the home to many wonderful things, and that includes the wacky, bizarre pigeon people of Google Earth. Yes, you heard me correctly. What looks absolutely terrifying on the surface is thankfully most likely just a strange prank, but basically it saw a group, all wearing pigeon heads, lined up on the sidewalk ready for the Google camera as it went by. It's definitely a strange sight to begin with, but it's made even weirder by the turn of their heads in order to follow the camera. Honestly, really unsettling when you first look at it. I mean, pigeons are already weird creatures, so this little prank definitely has a bit of an eerie feeling to it, but the good news is that it's likely just a fun group of students from the art school that is nearby to this weird scene found on Google Maps. In our number 9 spot today, we have the invitation. This weird Google Maps image comes to us from Memphis, Tennessee, and while I've never been, I've heard wonderful things. That is all except for this weird message that was found as someone was searching through Google Maps, and it's located on the top of the building. Someone wrote this message, and it's gotta be pretty large considering it was so easy to read even from this distance, but the message says, "Come downtown and play." I don't know what kind of Pennywise is out there writing these kinds of messages, but I know I'm not crazy and there's something almost sinister feeling about it. It is likely some sort of marketing tactic or something of that nature. I mean, at least I hope it is, but from a distance, when it looks like it could be something that was spray painted by a random person, it just seems weird, you know? I just know I probably won't be RSVPing to this invite anytime soon. Thanks, but no thanks. In our number 8 spot today, we have the disposal. Mannequins are always creepy. I don't care, they just are. My old roommate was a hairdresser, and when she was in school, sometimes I'd go to get a glass of water in the middle of the night and be absolutely startled by the disembodied head I saw, and only after the near heart attack realize in my sleepy state that it in fact was just a mannequin head. Well, you can imagine people got a lot of the same sort of feeling when they were on Google Maps and saw this sight of all of these discarded mannequins that truly for a second looks like it's a pile of bodies sitting in the trash. How horrifying. This site was seen on Google Maps in Chile, and it definitely was freaking people out. I wonder what these mannequins were used for. I mean, there's a ton of them, so it must have been used for some sort of clothing shop or like a seamstress or something, right? Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but that's what I'm choosing to believe. In our number 7 spot today, we have friendship. This is one Google Maps sighting that doesn't have a lot of information behind it, which definitely makes it all the more eerie. Basically, this is just an image of a group of friends standing together in the desert. Maybe a little strange, but not so weird. right? Well, yeah, except for the weird masks they're wearing and the fact that they're all staring directly at the camera. I'm sure the story behind this one is that these friends saw the Google Maps car coming and decided to play a little prank, probably similar to the pigeon people, but I mean, no one has been able to confirm this, and who keeps a bunch of scary masks on them? I mean, I guess the mission these people set out on was likely accomplished, because here we are, talking about this creepy prank. In our number 6 spot today, we have the SS Yasim wreck. The SS Yasim was a Bolivian cargo ship that sank on the evening of December 1st, 2003. For a while, no one was quite sure as to why it sank, as well as the fact that no one could find the wreck. This was honestly very strange just in general, but also especially because of the fact that the ship was quite large at 265 feet. This is exactly why it was so surprising when, a few years ago, the Google Maps team located the sunken vessel based on their satellite imaging. The ship was found on its side, perhaps in the same location it initially sank, in Wingate Reef, just off of the coast of Sudan. The mystery as to why the wreck was never found was realized because of the location of it. The wreck is close to an island where an uncontacted tribe lives. Of course, for the safety of both the tribe as well as outsiders who might not be welcomed, people thankfully tend to leave the island alone, but this is exactly why the wreck wasn't found for so long. This wreck then became one of the largest visible on Google Earth until quite recently. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Gobi Desert structure. This is one discovery that I talked about recently, and it's one that had conspiracy theorists' minds absolutely swirling. About a decade ago, someone was searching through some Google Maps images when they found a mysterious array of structures and patterns that appeared to be etched into the surface of the Gobi Desert, which is located in China. The structures, as they are referred to, are kind of similar to geoglyphs, but these ones look modern and newly created, and rather than actually being carved into the ground, they're made of something. The internet, of course, came up with some pretty insane speculations of what these structures could be or what they might be used for, and the ideas stretched from spy satellite calibration to some sort of Illuminati affiliated product, so who really knows at this point? In our number 4 spot today, we have the perpetrators. Okay, so this picture is definitely not really terrifying itself, but the story behind it certainly is. So basically, in 2011, a woman who lives in Oklahoma City was unfortunately the victim of a terrible crime. She was held at gunpoint by one man while another raided her home. I can't even imagine. That must have been so terrible and terrifying. So imagine her surprise one day when a friend of hers was on Google Maps in her neighborhood, and who does she see other than the 2 people who committed this crime against her? They were seen on the street camera hanging out apparently near her home. She of course called the police and turned the images over to them, and it is said that they are using them in the investigation. It is unclear if they were ever able to catch the perpetrators or not, but hopefully this image proved to be useful. In our number 3 spot today, we have the escape artist. Listen, not everything appears as it is on the surface, but this one at best is definitely fishy. Basically, it appears as if the Google Maps camera may have caught someone as they escape prison. This photo comes from Michigan, and it was taken by Google in front of the Lenawee County Jail. Basically, in the image, you see a guy walking in a white jumpsuit with black stripes, carrying a bag on his shoulder, with the jail visible in the background. When someone initially saw this on Google Maps, they of course screenshotted it and posted it to Reddit, asking people if Google caught someone as they were escaping. Honestly, we aren't exactly sure, but it is entirely possible that this inmate was just a trusted one who was on some kind of work duty where they were doing some work outside of the fence. Perhaps whoever was supervising just wasn't in the view of the Google car. Either that or this guy's the most calm escapee I've ever seen. In our number 2 spot today, we have caught red-handed. In 2008, a young man in Holland was biking home when 2 men ended up ambushing him, and they stole his bike, phone, and the cash he had on him. First, authorities were having trouble finding who the 2 men were that did this to him because of a lack of evidence, but just 6 months later there was a break in the case. The boy was looking at the street view of where the incident happened, and as he explored just a little bit, he found that the Google Maps car camera had captured the moments just prior to this terrible incident. That means that the camera captured the faces of those who had stolen his belongings. He ended up calling the police, who then called Google and asked for the unblurred versions of the photos. When Google delivered them, the police realized that they were able to directly identify the pair in the photo, who were a pair of 24-year-old brothers. Who knew that Google Maps could help bring people to justice? In our number 1 spot today, we have the cold case. This is one thing that was discovered on Google Maps that is really similar to a story that I covered in part 1 of this series. Basically, in 2007, someone was on Google Maps when they spotted something in a body of water that appeared to them to be a car. It turns out that they were right, and they helped the authorities solve an over 20-year-old cold case. Apparently, a man named William Molt was reported missing from Florida on November 7th, 1997. He never returned home after a night out, and police had been searching for him ever since. Once that person in 2007 brought what they found to the police, they were able to investigate and they found the missing vehicle. Inside was a body that they were finally able to identify as the missing William. It truly is a very tragic story, but at least he was finally found so that he can be returned to his loved ones and they can have some closure to the story.
Kicking our list off at number 10, missing car. Gearing up for the holidays, it should be an exciting time, right? You put up lights, almost fall off a couple of ladders, you're freezing cold. It's good, right? It's family bonding. You want to have a laugh. You don't want to accidentally find a car that's been missing for 9 years. That's not a laugh at all. That's rather stressful. That's right, back in 2015, a car that had been missing since 2006 was accidentally found while employees at a Michigan mortuary home were decorating around the building for the holidays, which on paper, I'm like, that's fun. They're making the, trying to liven it up a little bit. That's great. But finding this, that's creepy, especially here, ooh. In a nearby pond, they saw what appeared to be the roof of a car, and it turns out if you had just taken a look on Google Maps first, or at any point, you would have found this car a lot sooner, before the holidays. And also not in person, and terrifying. Finding this car also meant solving a 9-year-old missing person case. 72-year-old David Lee Niles most likely drove into the pond by accident. Now I'm gonna look on Google Maps after I'm done this list. Never know what you can find, or solve, apparently. That's great. Looking at my neighbor's backyard, I'm like, what is that? Is that a tire? Is that a coffin? Number 9, the Kazakhstan Pentagram. The Nazca lines, they're massive, they're beautiful, right? But they're not a jarring image to look at. A little man carved into the earth, that's amazing. That's kind of cute. A giant pentagram? That's haunting, that's not fun. And the fact that there appears to be no life or civilization around said pentagram, well, even worse. This symbol was first discovered in 2013, and it was carved into the ground into a deserted part of Kazakhstan. The closest city to the symbol is 12 miles away, the city of Lysychovsk, so, that would be quite a commute, whoever did this work of art. The symbol was made because that apparently was the outline of a park at one point in time. It was supposed to be shaped like a star, but if you accidentally went to the wrong place, checked Google Maps to see where to go, zoomed out, and then saw this, well, I don't know about you, but I would faint at the wheel. I would fall asleep. That's so scary. That's jarring to see on Google Maps. That's very, I don't like that. Number 8, Scientology hidden base. The Church of Scientology's base, like their underground hidden headquarters, their base near Trementia, New Mexico, is very alien. It doesn't look out, it doesn't stand out in a good way. I'm sure some of us are watching right now and they're torn. Some are on board with Scientology, and some can't stand the sight of Tom Cruise's face. Whatever your opinion is. On Google Maps, this looks like it should be Area 51. It looks like hieroglyphics, almost. If you saw this on a map in a video game, well, something good has to be nearby. Or terrible, one or the other. There's also a private airstrip nearby this symbol, so maybe there are aliens here? I don't know. Author John Sweeney says that this is a marker for the hidden bunker for the Church of Scientology. Now these symbols are apparently used by Scientologists as a guide to remind us where to go after returning to Earth, post-apocalypse, when we all die and then all the Tom Cruises come back and they're like, hey, Mission Impossible 9, 10, 11, doesn't even matter. Number 7. 2012 Sandy Island. Does it exist or does it not exist? Come on, we need an answer. This island is becoming the new Atlantis, apparently. Back in 2012, the world did not end, obviously, but a new island was gifted to us, it seems. A previously undiscovered island just popped up on Google Maps. Now, it was called Sandy Island, and it was located northwest of New Caledonia, and appeared to be the size of Manhattan. Wasn't too big, but again, wasn't too small. We should be able to go and see something. However, when a group of scientists sailed in the area, it wasn't there. Yeah, the island just went away, or it sunk, or it moved, or it doesn't exist. I don't know. It's just not there. How lovely is that? They never found solid ground, only open water. They explained that this might be due to human errors, but do we believe that? I don't know. Something's fishy here. Pun intended. I don't know, maybe a giant shark ate this island. Number 6, Big Bunny. It's normal to see bunny hills on Google Maps, but large bunnies on hills? Not what I signed up for. How does that happen? What? That shouldn't be a thing that exists, but it does, so now we have to talk about it. Located on the 5,000 foot high Coleto Fava mountain, there is somehow a massive 200 foot tall bunny. a knitted, pretty cute bunny. I don't know what's worse, being up close to it and seeing it massive in real life, or being far enough away that you see the whole creepy image of the bunny. Both are pretty gross. This rabbit is an art installation knitted by an art collective. So the whole purpose here was for tourists to come and jump around and play on it. Nice, I bet that's fun. I bet bugs love it as well. Number 5, Doll Village. This is like House of Wax kind of stuff. This is, it's one of the coolest places in my opinion. I would love to visit here, but I totally get why a lot of people are freaked out. There is a small village located in Shikoku, Japan, and what makes it creepy are of course the dolls spread out all over the place, and the lack of real living human people. All these dolls are made by the same person, and here's the kicker. According to reports, once a person passes away, this artist will replace them with a doll. Yeah, that noise you just made, that's why I put this on the list. That's terrifying, I don't like that at all. Another creepy thing here is that you won't see these dolls in the same place, but their creator, she'll deny moving them at all. So the dolls move on their own. That's cool. I lied. Maybe this is the scariest place on earth and I'm not gonna visit. Ew, what if the dolls just looked at you? You're just sitting there and it's like, I don't like that. It gave me chills, creeps. Number 4, large lips. All right, large lips coming up next. After that creepy ghost town, we gotta throw in something different, right? Something nicer? I mean, I don't know. We still need to sleep at some point today. Located in Garb, Sudan, lies what appear to be a large set of lips. That's all I'll say about that. This is just a natural formation. There wasn't a lip park supposed to be built here. It's just Mother Nature, just doing her thing. Now, if the earth could speak out of this mouth, what do you think she would say? She'd probably say, use your turn signal and also stop littering. Thanks. Number 3, creepy figure. I saw this late one night when I was scrolling, like alone in my personal life, and I gasped. I don't know, I don't like this one bit. I know it's probably easy to explain, but it's too creepy and, well, to be honest, I'm not sure when I'll get the chance to bring it up again on this channel, so here we go. The streets of Nancy, France. Now on Google Maps, this is a great way to get excited for your trip to Nancy, France. You gotta go check out the roads, plan where you're gonna go. Oh, why is that one spot blurred out? That's weird, let's Google it. Well, before this random spot was blurred out by Google, this creepy statue was just chilling on Google Street View. Now, I'm not sure who found this first, but man, that must have been jarring. Oh boy. It's so scary that Google even blurred it. You know what I mean? Even Google was like, huh. That's it. Why the area is blurred? I mean, people probably wanted to go check it out, and that's a no-no. Leave people alone, right? Obviously. That's what Google Maps is for. Just stalk them and scroll out from above. Easy. And number 2, Australia Triangle. Not to be confused with the Bermuda Triangle, although that's also a weird one. This Australian triangle was found, of course, on Google Maps, and I would check this one out. This is kind of cool. Anything alien, count me in. Put that tinfoil hat on. Let's do it. I'll watch signs on the plane on my way. It was originally discovered back in 2007, and some were quick to argue that this was a UFO that had made a pit stop on Earth. Google Maps got a shot of it. Others found a much more plausible, boring solution. They thought that it's a wind farm with 3 sets of wires that ultimately form a triangle, and in the middle part, it receives and transmits control signals. So it's not a UFO? Okay, are we sure? All right, we'll come back. Maybe part 2. We'll see. And finally, number 1, the Island of the Dolls. Back to doll stuff, gross. Some of these I would check out in person. I mean, sure, this last one here, the Island of the Dolls, I would only leave for Google Maps. Maybe, I'm not even sure I would zoom in on this place online. Isla de las Muñecas, this island for dolls, is famous because, of course, the dolls are on it, but there's also doll parts that are spread throughout it. Just hundreds of them everywhere. They would be hanging from trees or they would be nailed to the trees. Again, parts or full dolls, doesn't matter, it's all terrible to me. A resident by the name of Julian Santa Barrera is responsible for all these doll parts, and he did this to try and ward off demonic spirits. It worked so well that now humans don't even bother with it. He did this right after he found a body in a canal after it went missing, and to this day nobody dares to approach the island. Yeah, more than fair. There's a body? What? They would much rather snap a few pics from their boat, or, like me, just check it out from Google Maps. That's it.
Starting off this countdown, we have When Duty Calls. I mean, when you gotta go, you gotta go. You would just hope that no one was around to catch you. Don't want an old lady walking her dog to run into you, popping a squat behind a bush and letting one go. And you really don't want a Google car to pass by and catch you in the act and then publish it online for everyone to see. Because that's actually what happened to this guy. Poor dude was trying so hard to be discreet and he just couldn't win. What's worse is that his company's vehicle wasn't blurred. So now if his work sees this, it's probably very easy to identify him. In our 9th spot today, we have the Pentagram. The sigil of Baphomet is the official insignia of the Church of Satan. So of course many people consider the symbol to be satanic. Well, here we have what appears to be this symbol located on the southern shore of the Upper Tobol Reservoir. This symbol is massive. It's roughly 1,200 feet or 366 meters in diameter. Many people were wondering, what on earth is this for? Some say it's used for devil worship or sacrifices. Thankfully, it's not, but it's still something creepy. It is actually an abandoned Soviet-era camp, and I believe that the lines that we see that appear to be engraved in the earth are actually roads. What a great design, huh? In our 8th spot, we have the aliens. Are aliens real? Do you believe in them? Well, Google Earth seems to have captured this weird being on a balcony in France. See for yourself. Now, what on earth is that? Is it a weird statue put outside to scare away the neighbors or meddling kids? The dude's face looks like it could be the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. Did they decide to take these pictures on Halloween? Like, I have so many questions. Or maybe it's a real alien. At this point, aliens probably do live among us, so we're all aliens. I'm an alien. In our 7th spot, we have the disposed bodies. Now, I don't know what's going on here. Was this an art project gone wrong? Did a clothing store shut down and they had to give away their mannequins? Or is this a scene from Goosebumps? There's something so creepy about these discarded mannequins. Like the fact that they're wrapped up. What if they're the works of a serial killer? I mean, think about it, okay? It's pretty clever to discard of a body that way. You wrap the cut up body parts to make it look like they aren't real body parts. Meanwhile, they are. Hidden in plain sight. Please don't get any ideas. I just have an overactive imagination. In reality, it probably just was an art project, just a very creepy one. The guy in the trunk. Now, I have multiple questions for this, and I really don't know if I want to know the answers to them. First off, why is this guy naked? Second, why is he in the trunk of someone's car? Like, are we witnessing a kidnapping, or is he escaping a kidnapping? Next, what's with the dog? It better just be taking a nap, okay? There's just so much going on in this picture. Let's just hope that he was intentionally naked and intentionally wanted to go lie down in his trunk for a bit, okay? Like, this could be used as inspiration for the 4th Hangover movie. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Handy Mandy. This next one is not PG-13, okay? As if that naked man was. But seriously, warning, the next one is for mature audience members only. Because we got 2 individuals getting frisky in some alleyway. The man can clearly be seen with his pants down, and the woman's hand is in that general direction, so you get what's going on. And if you don't, you're too young to be watching this. Looks like Google is out here ruining everyone's fun. How awkward would it be not only to get caught, but having an image taken of you getting caught and uploaded online? In our 4th spot, we have the creepy scarecrows. Located in a field in Finland, we have what they call the silent people, which are 1,000 scarecrows lined up in a field. This was done by the artist Riho Kila. No thank you. I'm sorry. I'd be too scared of them like coming alive at night or something. Also, the name the silent people, it's creepy. But hey, at least those will scare away the crows, you know, and anyone, for a matter of fact. Moving on to number 3, we have the mooning. In April of 2018, an English man named Toby Sullivan was out for a walk with his friend when he spotted the Google car. So he did what any normal person would do. He dropped his drawers and full-on mooned the camera. Now, I don't know what was running through his mind when he did this, but I definitely did not need to see his peach. Also, for the longest time, his buttocks was uncensored and people could literally zoom into his crack. Okay, it's a little TMI. But when the photo and Toby's story went viral, Google decided to finally censor this guy's behind. Thank gosh. But even with the censor, you can still fully see this guy's crack, so. Coming in at number 2, we have mowing the lawn. Here's another young lad that recognized the Google car and thought, now is my time to shine. This guy was out mowing his lawn when he spotted the car and decided to lift up his shirt and flash the camera. Even though his face is pixelated, you can see he's giving Google a funny face, a little ah, you know? I bet him and his family had a big laugh about that one. But seriously, that meant that every time someone looked up his place to get directions or whatnot, that image popped up. Boy oh boy. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the mannequins. We got more creepy mannequins, folks. This time we know for sure that they are mannequins and not just wrapped up dead bodies. So you may be wondering, that's an odd way to decorate your lawn. Where is this? A nuclear testing zone? No, this is a neighborhood in Santa Rosa, California. Apparently, a neighbor complained, probably a Karen, that this guy's fence was too high for the city's law. So the neighbors lowered their fence, but then in spite he decorated his yard so that his neighbors wake up every morning to this lovely view. I mean, there's no rules against having mannequins in your yard, so should've just let him have his high fence. That's what you get.